Morning, good morning all. What's going on with this thing? Just give me 1 second. Good morning, Roxanne. Sunday blessings to you too, and thank you as always for my brooms. Ruben Rogers, morning, sir. PF Cutters, morning. Rutrude, morning to you. Cyril Medias, morning. Morning, Rookman. And Sunday blessings to you as well. Winston Jones, morning. Neil Francois, always present. Good morning to you, sir. What is there? Margaret Thomas, morning. Terence Cummings, morning to you, sir. Annette Baird, Udani Bruce, Wazid, morning to all of you guys. Carol Boyce John, morning. Felix Hospitalis, Brenda Isaac, morning to you. Leonard Harris, morning. Althea, morning. Kenneth Gabriel, morning to you, sir. Arlene Lewis, J Dimple 66. Larry McMillan, morning to you. Leon Joseph, all of you guys, morning. Who do we have on Facebook? Rosemary Hadley, morning, Rosemary. Ruth Fronton, morning to you. Good morning to His Excellency. President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor. First Lady Marcia Keegan. Daniel Knights, morning to you, sir. Deanne Charles, morning, Deanne. Eva Smith Spivey, morning. Christopher Serrett, morning to you. Jennifer Ferron, morning. Alison Boyce, Sarah Richards, Christopher Coffey, morning to all of you. Pamela O'Connor, Antoinette Batiste, morning. Marlene Panton, morning to you. Jackie Graham, Heather Chandler, morning. Terence Lynch, morning, sir. Julia Spooner, morning. Trevor Carter Nelson, morning, sir. Camilla Dean, morning. Who's that? Don Clark, morning to you. Leon Joseph, all of you guys. Leon says, lovely weather in Toko. That's a good place to be right now, Leon. Morning, Don Khan, Denise Cummings. See who else we have there. Denise. Nigel is saying, are you going to the fundraiser later at Soundforge? I would like to. Nigel, right now I'm torn between that and the event they have at Napa with Krokro and Tommy Joseph and these guys. So many things. Morning, Jenny. I should decide a little bit. Laverne Brown, morning. But Nigel, you and Marcia at Soundforge later. Patricia Lazare, morning to you. Carol Myers, morning, Carol. Yes, sunny Sunday. But I know that is going to change in a bit because they said there's a tropical wave heading our way and we're supposed to have some heavy rain some this afternoon into tomorrow. So we will see how that goes. Who else is there? Pam Gray, Jennifer Dorset, Tristan Small, White morning, guys. Sherry Ann George, Judy Bowen, Candice Joseph, Minad Lazare, morning to you. Petal Williams, morning. Valerie Bowen, morning, Val. Pam Gray, Agnes Mondesir, morning to all of you. Mer Durant, oh, you guys performing first. All right. So, folks, there's the event at Soundforge this afternoon, the fundraising event that Darren Marcel would have spoken about in an effort to raise funds for former government minister Nilion Hippolyte, who has been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer and is seeking to raise funds to treat his illness. There is a fundraising event this evening at Soundforge. I think it's $400 a ticket. And Nigel O'Connor and Marcia Keegan will be performing first. So you know that's a treat. So if you're planning to reach there late, you can't do that, right? Because you will miss a stellar performance. So you have to get there early. You know, trainees, we like to be fashionably late. Can't have that today, right? So I know that Darian spoke about it last week. So it's definitely, so Nigel says around 6:30. Okay. Merle Durant, Dimitri, McEwen, Andrea Ennis, morning, Andrea. Claudius Alexander, Denise Cummings, Gemma Alexander, morning, guys. Ada Tracy, Ian Clouden, Jamelia Hazel Reed Keto, Sarah Richards, Hazel Allen. Morning to all of you guys. Jenny says Napa this evening. Oh Lord. Donna Seeley, morning. Denise Cummings, Maureen Tull, Petal Williams, Augustus Keto, morning to all of you guys. Right, so many things, so many headlines this morning when you open Facebook is just overwhelming. It make you feel to close off Facebook and go back in your bed. I mean, between yesterday and today, and well, over the last couple of days, so many things have happened. I wanted to touch a little bit on emancipation. Of course, we gave way for on Thursday for persons to share the emancipation procession, and I know Jenny, through Levy Talk the Thing, we would have shared Jenny's coverage. I know my admin was supposed to go down there and provide you with some coverage as well. But as always, Jenny did a fantastic job. She was able to get some good interviews with the likes of Fitzgerald Hines and stuff. So we were able to see, the fashion, the African community come out in a blaze of glory with all of their fashion and so on. Yeah. So it seemed to be an event that was well patronized. So definitely next year, I'm going to have to attend. Yeah. So, but to those of you who did, well done. But I just have one criticism or one critique, if I might. And I think it's not specific to the procession, but rather the overall celebration of African emancipation this year. I noted in the newspapers and even on social media that you still have a number of corporate entities that have not, it seems, didn't get a memo that the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago authorized the changing of the name from just Emancipation Day to African Emancipation Day. And so a number of these corporate entities, in sending out their greetings, whether it was on the print media, the electronic media, and so on, social media, left out African. And so they were just saying Happy Emancipation Day. And I don't believe that was an oversight, because when that announcement was made back in April, it generated a lot of public commentary and discussion. Right, it was a topical issue for quite some time that had engaged the public. So I don't accept it when anybody says, well, we forgot. You didn't forget nothing. That was deliberate, because some people still haven't bought into. Some people are still have the mindset it doesn't matter. The emancipation has always been associated with persons of African descent, and therefore putting African descent is academic. Well, it might be academic to you, but to the persons for whom emancipation is something significant, right? Putting African in front of it means something. And the Prime Minister didn't just do this because he feels to do something, or as the fully done so tell you, it was just a distraction. Everything the Prime Minister does is always a distraction. That's what they will tell you, right? But the Prime Minister knows that there is deeper reason for doing that, especially now, where the reparations conversation is getting to a significant point, right? It's getting to a head. And I want to let people like Ms. Kizelle Jackson know that the word is reparation, right? Not repatriation. Yeah, reparation, ma'am, not repatriation. So when you want to do your live to talk the government and talk about who free and you're free to catch your backside in Trinidad and so on, and you want to accuse the government of not being interested in reparations, that is the word, not repatriation. Right? Repatriation means you take all persons of African descent and take them back to Africa. And tell them, hey, pick one, pick a country. Where you want to go? Zimbabwe? You want to go Kenya? You want to go Somalia? Like yourself, right? There's a fundamental difference. Repatriation and reparations are two different things, man. Somalia wannabe social media activists and influencers need to buy a dictionary. Okay, invest in a dictionary. You don't even need to. On your smartphone, you can just pull it up, right? Yes. So as I was saying, I am of the view that a lot of these corporate entities, that was deliberate. I'm surprised that I actually saw a number of UNC members of parliament embracing it and sending out their greetings with African Emancipation Day. So kudos to them. They finally get one thing right? They finally get one thing right. So when they do something correct, all right, we will give you your props. So to those members of the opposition MPs who sent out your greetings and you had it correct, happy African Emancipation Day. Thumbs up. Yeah. It's a noteworthy accomplishment. You all don't get that too often, right? But I was making the point that I think because this year is the closeout of the decade for persons of African descent as declared by the UN General Assembly, I think this year in particular, the celebrations ought to have been a little more pronounced, right? Rather than just on Emancipation Day, just like we did 2 years ago when we celebrated the country's 60th anniversary of independence, and we had a whole month of activities to celebrate that monumental event. I think we could have done similar, given that Trinidad and Tobago was the first country to declare Emancipation Day a holiday, right, in recognition of the significance and what it means. I think that this was another opportunity for us to really show the significance that it carries, at least in this country. And what I found noteworthy is that a lot of these speeches and a lot of the greetings that were sent out for African Emancipation Day made no mention of the fact that this is the final year of the decade for persons of African descent, right? And I just wanted to touch on something quickly, what that meant, because let me just get this here. Where is it? So, and this is from the United Nations piece. It said the International Decade for People of African Descent 2015 to 2024. Program of activities for the implementation of the International Decade for People of African Descent. And the UN General Assembly proclaimed 2015 to 2024 as the International Decade for People of African Descent, citing the need to strengthen national, regional, and international cooperation in relation to the full enjoyment of economic, social, cultural, civil, and political rights by people of African descent and their full and equal participation in all aspects of society. And as proclaimed by the General Assembly, the theme for the International Decade is People of African Descent, Recognition, Justice, and Development, right? Recognition, justice, and development. The objectives of the decade, main objectives: to promote respect, protection, and fulfillment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by people of African descent, as recognized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Promote a greater knowledge of and respect for the diverse heritage, culture, and contribution of people of African descent to the development of societies. 3, to adopt and strengthen national, regional, and international legal frameworks according to the Durban Declaration and Program of Action and the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, and to ensure their full and effective implementation. The program of activities implementation, and it goes on to say, at the national level, states should take concrete and practical steps to the adoption of and effective implementation of national and international legal frameworks, policies, and programs to combat racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance faced by people of African descent, taking into account the particular situation of women, girls, and young males in the following areas: recognition, justice, development, and multiple or aggravated discrimination. At the regional level and international level, the international community and international and regional organizations are called, among other things, to raise awareness, disseminate the Durban Declaration and Program of Action, and the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, assist states in the full and effective implementation of their commitments under the Durban Declaration, collect statistical data, incorporate human rights into development programs, and honor and preserve historical memory of people of African descent. There are also a number of steps and measures to be taken by the UN General Assembly, including the appointment of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights to act as coordinator of the decade, and the establishment of a forum to serve as a consultation mechanism, convening a final assessment of the decade, and ensuring the completion of the construction and inauguration before the midterm review in 2020 of a permanent memorial at the UN headquarters to honor the memory of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic trade. Now, I don't know if that has been done. And the fact that I don't know that if that has been done, and a lot of people listening probably don't know, says that clearly not enough prominence was placed on this decade for persons of African descent. Right? And that's why I'm saying that here in Trinidad, we could have done a lot more. I'm not just talking about government here. I'm also talking about the other entities in society, the Emancipation Support Committee, who it seems we mostly only hear about around emancipation time, right? And any other entity that claims to be interested in the welfare and well-being of persons of African descent. But of the four goals, or for implementation, recognition, justice, development to me stood out, right? And I'm interpreting that to mean development programs for persons of African descent. Yet it says here, the development covers the right to development and measures against poverty. Consistent with the Declaration on the Right to Development, states should adopt measures aimed at guaranteeing active, free, and meaningful participation by all individuals, including people of African descent, in development and decision-making related thereto, and in the fair distribution of benefits resulting from them. Recognizing that poverty is both a cause and consequence of discrimination, states should, as appropriate, adopt or strengthen national programs for eradicating poverty and reducing social exclusion that take account of the specific needs and experiences of people of African descent. That take account of the specific needs and experiences of people of African descent, and should also expand their efforts to foster bilateral, regional, and international cooperation in implementing these programs. And it covers things like education, employment, health, housing. Those are the four main areas. And we know, and I have been saying it, this government has been doing quite a bit, especially in the last 3 years or so, 3 to 4 years, to promote initiatives and to create programs to benefit persons of African descent. Yet, we saw 2 years ago at the very same emancipation procession, when Fitzgerald Hines would have, was called on to represent Dr. Ali, because if memory serves me correctly, I think Dr. Ali had COVID around that time, right? And Mr. Hines deputized for him. And he delivered the Emancipation Day speech at the procession. And he referenced a program that the government had put in place, a program which was geared towards providing agricultural lands for the wider society. And Mr. Hines expressed disappointment, not just his own disappointment, but I think it was wider disappointment on the part of the government, that when they looked at the persons who were applying for the program, that there was a shortage of names, persons of African descent, right? Hinting or indicating that persons of African descent seemingly were not interested in participating in this program that would provide them in the first instance with land ownership. And who tell Hines to see that? Well, of course, we know the opposition take a turn in his backside, and they want to know if it is that the government is governing on the basis of discrimination and what's the other thing they said, boy? Can't remember, right? But that is discriminating against the other races. Mr. Hines never said that. It's a program that's open to anybody. And the fact that persons other than, or primarily persons who were not of African descent, were applying for these lands is indicative of the fact that the government is not governing based on discrimination. But they are just making an observation, and it was a critical observation, because again, based on this being the decade for recognition of persons of African descent, I think at least in this decade, could say, well, all right, the government needs to do a little more, which they attempted to do. But as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. So all these things that were done, and we see all of the programs that are being rolled out by the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service. But again, you cannot go and hold these persons by the scruff of the neck and say, come sign up for the program, come and participate. You create the programs, you promote it, And you can hope that such persons would see merit in it. But every day the government has to be fighting against the naysayers who will go out there and target these same young people, and perhaps their messaging or their strategy for messaging is a little more effective than what the government is employing. And so they are able to lie to these young people, especially these young men of African descent, who it seems are more inclined towards picking up the gun, pulling back a skull, taking a man goes, this slang, as opposed to becoming productive members of society. They seem to have no issue with persons of other ethnic backgrounds labeling the African community as being a waste of time, as being nothing more than criminals, nuisances to society, all of that. They don't care. It don't matter to them, because the things that they are doing really is facilitating that. And for those of us who may wish to argue otherwise, these guys making it very difficult for us. Very, very difficult. Because when other persons will point and tell you, see, look at the ethnic background of the majority of the people in the prisons. Look at the ethnic background of the majority of the people who work in CPEP. And they come and they tell you all of these things. And then they will say, well, look at the ethnic background of the people who own business and the people who are the captains of industry and all of that. And well, they're making it tough for us. Really, really tough. Right? Now, other things we could point to. But anyway, I know I don't like to go down the race route, but I'm just saying that I think a little more could have been done. Prominence on this year's, in particular, this year's emancipation celebrations, in recognition of the closeout of the decade for persons of African descent. I don't know when that will come again. If it will come again in our lifetime, I don't know. But we should have made a more concerted effort to make the best of it, right? Not just calling on international entities to do their part to fulfill the mandate as set out by the Durban Declaration. Right? Now, I heard the Prime Minister say that later on this year, I think in October, CARICOM heads would be heading to Samoa, where I think is I don't know if they will be having the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, I think, possibly, right? And they intend to make a forceful case to His Majesty, King Charles, with respect to reparations. Time for talk done, time for action now, right? And you all have the intent to let him know, look, you all have been skirting this issue for years, and we fed up at it. Time for us to make a move. We need to sit around the table and we need to discuss this in a real and meaningful way. Right? We're not prepared to wait another 100 years. We tried to discuss it with your mother, that didn't go very far. Now you are the man in charge, we need to discuss it with you. Yes, because you do have a health affliction and we don't know how that will go. And we really don't want to have to start discussions all over again with your son. Even though when he and his wife came to the Caribbean a couple of years ago, the subject, as Dr. Oli would have indicated, they would have broached the subject with him as well as the heir to the throne. So he is aware. But CARICOM intends to make, a forceful point. All I need to ante up, right? You all need to ante up. So it is good that it is happening in this year, but I don't think anything concrete is going to come out of it, because it will have these discussions that would lead to other discussions, and then they will have to set up some sort of committee to meet with, and so it's going to take a while. But still, we need some level of progress. Right now, we stick. It ain't really going nowhere. So, but I'm just saying more. I mean, we could have done not just locally, internationally, and otherwise, because when I could see foolish comments from members of the Fully Duns on Facebook, posting things like, anybody get invited to their friend's house to eat food, African food for African Emancipation Day, asking for a friend. Because that is what they have done, right? In putting out these comments, and there's people like, and I'll call them out, I've mentioned this before. It's a group called, or a Facebook profile called Trinidad and Tobago Politics 24/7, Open Mic 24/7 or something like that. And there's one, you have a lot of Fully Duns racists in that group. One of them in particular, who goes by the name of Natalie Jaikaran. Right? I stopped responding to her a long time, as I told her she's a low-life, racist gutter rat, and I will not respond to the likes of persons like her. Right? When I've read some of her comments and posts. quintessential racist. There are lots of them like her inside that group. And she was the one who posted that nonsense. So she has sought to contextualize African Emancipation Day as it's just a day for you to go and eat African food. I want to ask her, what do you all do for Indian Arrival Day? What do you all do? I think that's probably the closest East Indian holiday, if you want to call it that, to Emancipation Day, because it's not a religious holiday, and emancipation is not a religious holiday, right? Do you all invite people to your homes to eat on that day? Do you all have a procession? What do you all do to mark East Indian Arrival Day? Absolutely nothing. Nothing of significance. You have a parade that we could point to and say, hey, look, footage. No, you don't do that. You probably go around by the river and make a cook or something like that, but that's about it. Or stay home and drink rum or something, but you don't do nothing else, really. So they come and try to trivialize African Emancipation Day as one day for the year, they put in on African clothes. So another clown put Emancipation Day is the one day of the year when for persons of African descent to go by the 1% Syrian and buy a certain material and a certain cloth to pretend that they are Africans. What kind of disrespect is that? So in the decade, the last year of the decade for persons of African descent, we still have people in this country who are so ignorant, posting and posting trash like that. And know what's even worse? It's an open profile, meaning that they don't care if their friends who have African descent see it. Their friends on Facebook who have African descent, because when you post these things, people will see so and so commented or whatever it is. They don't care that their friends of African descent or their co-workers of African descent will see these filthy, dirty, racist comments. It's like once upon a time, they used to hide in the little silos, their private groups that you had to join. And the admin would assess you before they accept you into the group. Now they have these open groups, public, so every and anybody could see. And they couldn't care less who they offend. So, I mean, that to me is very telling, right? It's very, very telling. And then if your friend or your co-worker see that one, what are you going to tell them? Yeah, no, I just a joke. I was only joking. Really? That's no joke for me. I don't find that funny. In the least, I find it offensive. But they don't care. And it has been and it's interesting that 2015 was declared the start of the decade for the recognition of persons of African descent. And it was after the loss of the 2015 election by the United National Congress that we really saw, the increase. Well, we all recall some of the nasty comments that we saw on social media coming out from persons who support the United National Congress, talking about put feces in the doubles for persons of African descent, that East Indian businessmen should increase the prices of their goods and services for persons of African descent. It then have what names they didn't call persons of African descent. And it continued again in 2020. We saw the racist ads, right, given where you had the actors who have African descent and the East Indian family coming out of the grocery with the trolley, and they hand in a package of bananas to the African vagrant, because to depict that is the persons of African descent who are suffering the most in Trinidad and Tobago. And other ethnicities doing so well, and they will give handouts to the Africans. And then Kamala Prasad says, well, I didn't see those advertisements, so I can't comment on it. You didn't see it? But your Facebook page, when you went on her Facebook page, every single one of the ads shared and featured on her Facebook page, but she don't know nothing about it. No, I'm not aware. Never aware. Right? And then they showed you, we all recall these filthy ads with, again, persons of African descent looking dirty. The woman with the torn up blouse, the head tie on her head, and her face looking dirty, and people, and sort of them eating grass and all kind of foolishness. At the start of the decade for persons of African descent. And it has only gotten worse. Only gotten worse. Oreo, Black Man. I am proud of my name. I got my name from my ancestors. Where you got your name from? Yours is the your slave master name, all of these things, right? But the hypocrite had the audacity, you want to put out statement praising the African community. You want to praise the people with the slave master names, all of a sudden you all recognize the persons with the slave master names. You didn't study that when you made the statement. And whenever that comes up, I always make the point. It took 9 days for Kamla Persad-Bissessor to be offended by Camille Robinson Regis calling her by her full name. She interpreted that. Because for 9 days, the day it happened, nobody from the UNC had an issue. The day after, right? Enel Roberts, that loudmouth lout, who always quick to do doubles and coffee, he didn't have an issue with it. David Nackett didn't have an issue with it. None of them had an issue with it for 9 days until their beloved leader took to a platform and decided to raise it as an aside. You know, she talking all kind of thing like Donald Trump and, hey, yeah, you know, I remember I was supposed to be upset about this thing, so let me talk about it. And only when she talked about it, all of a sudden the Women's League of the UNC were offended. Yes, it was offensive, but it was carried on the news, it was carried in newspapers. You all had no issue with it. You all didn't put out a statement. But only when your leader came to feign disdain and to feign concern, and she was so upset by it, all of a sudden, yeah, well, hey, the leader vex, so all of it, you know, we had to follow suit, Trump and suit. 9 days to get vexed about that, right? So what was going on for the first 8 days? You needed to look at it over and over and over before you determine that you were offended by it. Hypocrisy. But then we supposed to come and accept, yes, so look at this here. Look at this nice, this nice greeting and canvas and all for the African community. No, we're not accepting that. Unacceptable. Right? You could keep that. You can put that where the monkey put the nuts. We're not interested. Because we know it does not come from a genuine place. And the fact that you double down and triple down, that you refuse to apologize when it was drawn to your attention, look, this is rubbish. Rubbish. You didn't apologize. In fact, you got your hounds on them to come out and double down and triple down on it to say that she was right to defend herself because she was attacked. But they went after Camille Robinson Regis. But as I keep saying, Laurel Azama Leasing said the same thing, called her name several times, probably more than Camille Robinson Regis, because Mrs. Regis would have spoken, would have called Kamla Persad-Bissessor's name while she was giving her address. But if memory serves me correctly, Laurel Azama Leasing was the master of ceremonies for that evening. And every opportunity that she got after Mrs. Regis spoke, she would have called out Kamla Persad-Bissessor by her full name. That she took issue to that. But for years we've known, you call every prime minister, you talk about George Michael Chambers, Patrick Augustus Mervyn Manning, Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson, Keith Christopher Rowley. What's the issue? Any of them took offense to that? When it is that she was taken, when she was mocking Mr. Hines, Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines. Ethelbert, everything is Ethelbert this and Ethelbert that. The fully dunce who were upset with her because her full name was called out. All they didn't have to know. He said, I think the laugh, yeah, Ethelbert with idiots. But you convenient offense. Right? Convenient offense. Because she tell her she vex. Yes, Massa, you vex, we vex. You vex, Massa, well, we vex too. The idiocy in it. And then you want to come and put out a statement, we're not accepting from none of them. Not none. But as I haven't seen any photos. I don't know if this year she decided that she wasn't going to dress up in African way. You know, every year she started to put on her African garb and so on. She probably didn't feel to do it. I didn't see no pictures. I don't even know if she's in the country. This year she just saying. I ain't feeling to mama guide them this year. You know? But we will always remember, beware of those who come dressed in the attire of your ancestors to fool you. We are aware of her words. Her words. When Dr. Rowley went to the Diwali Nagar, when she was prime minister and he wore a kurta, and she told the supporters, beware of persons who come dressed in the attire of your ancestors to fool you, and it fall back on you. Out of thine own mouth comes thy judgment. So we are not fooled when you put on your headpiece and all kind of thing and you want to come and give story about you were baptized as a child, as a Baptist. So when it's convenient to you, you're a Baptist, and then when it's convenient to you, you're a Hindu. Yeah? A man can't serve two masters because he will hate one and love the other. We are not fooled. You can't be heart pregnant. It's one or the other. Right? And both we know totally divergent. So you ain't fooling me with that nonsense. So miss us with that now. But we will talk more on that about the International Decade of for persons of African descent. I know it's something that is near and dear to Jenny's heart. I've heard Boris talk a lot about it. I think I've heard David Mohammed speak about it as well, and other such persons. But I'm just saying I think more prominence should have been put on it for this year in particular. Right? And I hope it's not too late for us to correct that. We still have a few months left in this decade. So, for the record, a word to the wise. Right. So, I always like to read out when I see. Well, let me get it here. When they condemn their own, it just reinforces what we have been saying all the while. Let me get it here. So apparently there's an issue in Chaguanas that caused some significant traffic last week. A bridge that is collapsing or so on. And apparently that is a major bridge. Leads to a major thoroughfare, and it caused some significant gridlock last week. Suraj Rambachan, former mayor of Chaguanas, former Minister of Government in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, decided to take to Facebook to call out the Chaguanas Borough Corporation, which is UNC controlled. So when they like to blame Rohan Sinanan and the Ministry of Works and Transport for these things, massive Chaguanas Borough incompetence. This is Suraj Rambachan. It was pathetic to say the least, seeing the MP for Chaguanas North, I think he meant Couva North, and the mayor of Chaguanas lamenting that they did not have money to clean the drains in Chaguanas. This resulting in major traffic gridlocks for over 10 hours on Friday. People, including myself, were caught up to 1 hour and a half trying to get out of Chaguanas. I saw that traffic and I was wondering what that was about because I went to a funeral in Grand Couva on Friday, and on my way back, I saw that gridlock and I'm like, wow, boy. The traffic gridlock had to do with the extremely poor decision making by the borough, not the ministry. Firstly, 3 box culverts crossings are being done in the middle of busy Chaguanas during the day. This work should have been done at night. During the day, steel sheets should have been placed to continue the flow of traffic. Secondly, this work should not take 28 days. If you had to justify the cost, Suraj, and you should know that, you should know how all your hurdles operate. If you had to justify the cost, you can't tell me this project cost $5 million and it takes 5 days. Something wrong. So I need the 28 days I could justify that and say, well, manpower, labor costs and all them kind of thing. Right? But anyway, he says, secondly, this work should not take 28 days. A bridge in Perseverance also collapsed. A Bailey Bridge is required. Mr. Mayor and Mr. Ratiram, this, while contributing to the massive 10-hour gridlock, is separate from the failure to implement traffic management. I called the CEO's office at 12:25 p.m., having failed to get the mayor. No, the mayor not taking your call, Suraj. What a thing. You should have called, you know who. Maybe she might have been able to get on to him. Because when he see that number, yes, great leader. Yes, Massa. Any opportunity that they get to audition. She was unavailable. I left a message. I called the mayor again without reply at around 6:30. So he better to call back. 12:25, he called the CEO's office. So around lunchtime, he called the mayor. Sure, the mayor saw the missed call. He said, me calling you back now. Who the hell is he? He called back again at around 6 o'clock. And still, 6:30, and still, the mayor ain't calling back. Poor soul. So he says he called the mayor again without reply at around 6:30. What was most funny is to have seen both of them on CNC3 lamenting money issues but feeling miserably to deal with the traffic. I spoke to Minister Richie Sukai at 12:30 p.m. The same time he called the CEO's office, right? CEO of the Chaguanas Borough Corporation and the mayor, who indicated that they are short on Bailey bridges. However, One was located and will be installed, he promised, by Monday of next week. You see the difference? He called the UNC mayor, he didn't answer. He called the CEO of the Chaguanas Borough Corporation, she didn't answer. But he called the minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport, Richie Sukai, right? Who's supposed to be busier than both of them. And he answered. And he, like PNM, right? So the two UNCs, to hell with Rambacha, and we have no time with him. But he called the PNM man and he answered. Okay? And he didn't just only answer. He went and checked to find out what going on with Bailey Bridges. They were able to locate one, and I suppose Mr. Sukai called him back and tell him, well, here, what we were able to locate a bridge for you, a Bailey Bridge, and we will seek to have that installed by Monday of next week, tomorrow. Okay? Now, in all that time, while Richie Sukai was able to go and make inquiries in the ministry as to whether or not they have Bailey Bridges and to find out if one could be located and all of that, the mayor was too busy to call back Suraj. So between 12:30 and 6:30 after that time, Suraj didn't get a call back yet. Okay. From the UNC mayor, the party that he supports. He goes on to say, Mr. Mayor, with due respect, why did you not get both the municipal police and the traffic wardens, as well as the central police involved? Why did the municipal police come in the scene after 5 p.m.? At 5:30 p.m. yesterday, Mr. Sat Sukdeo of Extra Foods had to deploy his private security to assist with the situation. And the people of Chaguanas probably like it, so what will happen today? In the meantime, why were these 3 contracts given out without proper planning for traffic management? This one is not about money. It's about competent management. I laughed to see how CNC3 were duped with the wrong story. Does anyone really care about Chaguanas? Well, based on what you're saying here, Suresh, clearly the UNC don't care about Chaguanas. But, you know, the supporters would like to say the PNM does vote on race. We don't vote on race, we vote on issues. Is it PNM does vote on race? This is not an issue. No. Suresh telling earlier, the borough incompetent, and asking, does anybody care about Chaguanas? Well, guess what? The PNM minister, who the UNC tell you is Annie Makaram, and who the UNC and who Adel Roberts want to tell you that Mr. Sukai like boys and all kind of foolishness like that. Clearly he cared, because he took time out of his busy day as minister in the ministry to go and look for a bridge for all. But your mayor didn't care to answer Suraj, and neither the CEO of the Borough Corporation. I continue. Massive Chaguanas incompetence, right? Let me see. So let me see what I have here. All right, so that was the end of it. But Suraj asking, anybody care about Chaguanas? You're asking the wrong people, Suraj. Go and ask Kamla that. You all control Chaguanas East and Chaguanas West. Cuba North, Cuba South. Right? Because I think with Chaguanas probably have some bounding with Cuba and stuff. So yeah, you all control that whole geographical block, the UNC, and have done so for a number of years. And you're asking who anybody really cares about Chaguanas? Really? You all vote on issues, you all don't vote on race? So guess what? Come next election next year, that's an issue. I hope you'll remind them who put the Bailey Bridge in place and who called the ministry, who called the minister to ask for the Bailey Bridge. I hope you remind the Burgesses and the constituents of Chaguanas West that it wasn't the mayor of Chaguanas who called the minister. It wasn't the CEO. All of them, both of them who collecting pay. It wasn't the member of parliament for Cuba North. All of them who collecting salary every month to represent the Burgesses, they didn't call. You call, Mr. Sukai. Just remember that. Okay? So, who collecting pay under false pretense? But again, all you all vote based on race. You all vote based on issues. So, we're willing to overlook. Yeah, there's an issue. We're voting on that. Bunch of hypocrites. Anyway, can't fool me. Jokers. So, I need to fast forward. Two other issues I wanted to touch on, right? But anyway, let me see how I can deal with both of them. I wanted to deal with one, a statement based on an interview, based on Google's show last week, where a young man called in and he expressed concern. He seems to be a supporter of the PNM, but one thing that he can't seem to shake is the misconstrued statement that Dr. Rowley made some 4 years ago in an interview with Natalie Legault, that there is nothing wrong with the rich getting richer. But of course, we know the fully dunce, they didn't hear that. Kay keeps saying, Rowley said the rich must get richer. But before I get to that, I'll see if I could treat to that. The more pressing issue which has occupied the front pages of the newspapers today, right, is that Mr. Jindal, Naveen Jindal, who is a member of the Indian Parliament and who is CEO, I think, or chairman of Jindal Steel, which is a subsidiary of the Jindal Group in India, one of the largest private sector companies in India, alongside the likes of Reliance Group, which is owned by the Ambani family, right, has decided that he is not going to pursue a bid for the Pointe-a-Pierre Refinery, which was closed some 6 years ago, right? Just now, right. So it is on the front page of today's newspapers. And the Prime Minister would have made that announcement when he read from the letter that was sent to him by Mr. Jindal, which he received on or about the 26th of July, in which Mr. Jindal would have indicated that his group has decided not to pursue a bid for the refinery, given the negative criticism that they've received from the UNC and the opposition leader, directed towards Mr. Jindal. He's concerned about the impact that it could have on his company's reputation, right? And let's see. Yes, Roxanne. But let me, so Mr. Jindal, who was prepared, it seemed, to invest some 700 million US in the first instance, which is, based on what the Prime Minister said, is what would be required to bring the refinery up to scratch. We're not talking about the acquisition alone. The cost that would be involved to renovate, refurbish the refinery, upgrade it, and so on. We're looking at 700 million US that could have been injected into the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me get this here. I prefer you to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So, let's see here. Right. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the level of dotishness that is fed to you is appalling. But you see, there are some people in this country who have the national stage. They control the national narrative, and they're downright dangerous. I just came back from the heads of government meeting in Grenada. The meeting was supposed to take place a few weeks ago, but the hurricane came at the same time the meeting was scheduled for, and it was postponed to last day. So I was there on Sunday, and the meeting was due to end on Wednesday, so I went on Sunday morning, came back on Wednesday evening. While I was there, my good friend and colleague, Prime Minister of St. Vincent, we sit next to one another, because S&T very close. And he spent the whole 2 days teasing me about sandals and telling me about the wonderful effect of sandals on the economy of St. Vincent. For those of you who don't know, it is the sandals project that was supposed to go to Tobago that ended up in St. Vincent. Gerald was giving me chapter and verse that when he heard that Tobago had turned down the sandals project, he called Butch Stewart and said, "Come and see me, St. Vincent want it." That project is going full speed ahead, employing 1,000 people and supporting hundreds of farmers in St. Vincent. Tobagonian politicians wanted no part of it because they felt that it would have brought political benefit to the people's national movement. That's what it was. That's all that it was. You think it ends there? You think stupidity is only in Tobago with sandals? I went to India recently, and I spoke to a number of, as a matter of fact, I was passing through India. I came from Africa, and I was passing through India in what I thought would have been an informal visit to one of the major business houses in India, the Reliance company, which is, I think, probably the largest Indian company. They invited me to come because we had some common interest in cricket. Because I chair a committee at CARICOM on cricket, and Pollard is connected to Reliance. So we got to talking, and they got to know a bit more about Trinidad and Tobago. And in the scheme of international cricket business, I was invited to come and see them to see what they're doing there and compare that with what they want to do in Trinidad and Tobago. So I took the opportunity to go there. When I got to India, the authorities in India converted that visit to a full-fledged official visit. It's a good thing the High Commissioner was on the ball and his wife could buy clothes quickly. Because I turned up with clothes that were not fitting for this assignment. When I saw the assignments that they laid out for me in India, I had to get dressed. And you saw the pictures, right? I was dressed. It included a dinner with the governor of Maharashtra. It included meeting a delegation of very prominent Indian business houses. And it also included people who never heard about the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. But as number one salesman, I wasn't fazed. I spoke to them at length. I landed in a dinner, my first night was a dinner. And I want to thank one of my proteges here, who was very instrumental in organizing from Trinidad while I was in India and getting the connections going there. And that is Senator Renuka Sigram Singh Suklal. Between Renuka and our High Commissioner in India, we did a lot of work during those few days I was in India. And the end result of that, and my interventions there in Mumbai, the High Commissioner and a couple of the businessmen decided, look, let us go, in response to the Prime Minister's invitation, let us go and visit Trinidad and Tobago and see whether it is a place that we can do business. Because these people are constantly investing. They're constantly looking for a place to invest. We in Trinidad and Tobago, we are constantly looking for foreign direct investment, investors to come to our country and invest, bring money and invest in our country. And we had a good thing going there. One of the people who that delegation wanted to be associated with and to bring here was a gentleman called Mr. Jindal, Naveen Jindal, who I've never heard about before. Mr. Jindal turns out to be the chairman of one of the largest companies in India. Like Reliance, these are mega companies. And to come to Trinidad and Tobago is crossing the first hurdle just to come here, just to talk to us, just to see us. That's one of the major hurdles. Because I believe if they come and they talk to us, one or two of them may do some of that in international investment in Trinidad and Tobago. Jindal was not in India. He was in South America, in Venezuela. So when I got back here, I got a communication through Foreign Affairs that he wanted to come from Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago on the way back out of South America. No problem. I was very happy to receive him. He came here and said he has realized that we have opportunity for investment, and he, like the others who came, would want to consider Trinidad and Tobago. That's what courtesy calls are about. And that was the end of it. We had at the time the oil company, I think it's Paria. The companies were, but the business is being done by by Paria. They had a public invitation out to the world. It's called a request for proposal, RFP. To the world, we are inviting, if you're interested, send us your proposal, and by the end of July 28th, July 31st, we'll open wherever they were going and see what we have. So when Mr. Jindal came here, there was no proposal from him. He was one of those who thought it was interesting, and he had until the 31st of July to put in a proposal. Man came, he visited, he left. And the opposition leader launched an attack on Naveen Jindal. And he's a scamp, he's corrupt, he's charged for XYZ, and he's a criminal, and the government should not talk to him. And there's a little short one from Sawam. Walk on wine, right? He had a lot to say about me being involved in scandal with Jindal, the one called Wade Mark. And all that happened is a number of Trinidad and Tobago politicians launched an attack on Naveen Jindal personally. This is a man who is chairing a conglomerate that produces 40% of India's steel and has investments around the world. I received a letter from Mr. Jindal on the 26th of July. And this is after having come to Trinidad and Tobago, expressing an interest in our mothball refinery. He said, like most people who know anything about the refinery, it would involve an investment of approximately $700 million US. Because the refinery, one of the reasons why it was a money loser for us is because the refinery is obsolete. And to bring it back into operation, any common sense, any good sense would mean that you have to upgrade it significantly. One of the upgrades is to put in some modern technology in the management of the refinery, the physical management, where you have people watching a dial. Some of those dials are 100 years old. Nowadays, the technology exists that you can literally put those on digital automation. And you have to spend money to do that, to bring the refinery to that kind of age of operation. So you would have to spend some significant money on doing that, as well as the operational money. So the investment looked like in the order of $700 million US. And this is from a company that has the ability to do it. Not like people who want to refine, but they can't pay their lawyer. They can't pay their accountant. They're singing Calypso and burning my picture, but they want refinery. I am talking about a company, a multi-billion-dollar company. And the only thing that could have happened from the other side of the parliament is to launch an attack on the man. So he's written to me, let me just quote a couple of paragraphs for you. Dated 26th of July, addressed to me. I wish to express my deepest, it's me, he calls me Your Excellency. I wish to express my deepest gratitude for the warm hospitality extended to me and my team during our recent visit to Trinidad and Tobago. The opportunity to pay a courtesy visit on June 17, 2024, and explore the possibility of participating in the Guacara refinery bidding process was both enlightening and inspiring. It was a privilege to discover more about Trinidad and Tobago's wealth of natural resources, the interest and creative spirit of the people, and the initiatives your leadership has championed. The Jindal Group is one of India's foremost industrial conglomerates, with investments exceeding $25 billion US, and global operations in steel, mining, power, and infrastructure sectors spread over India, Australia, the Middle East, and Africa. This dedication to excellence has enabled us to build a substantial presence on the world stage. It is with great disappointment, therefore, that I must address the reaction led by the official opposition parties following our visit. The character assassination I experienced merely for considering the investment opportunity in the Guayacán refinery was deeply disheartening and discouraging. Moreover, the unjust attacks directed at our group's companies, entities that operate independently and are unconnected to legal matters, mischaracterized in the local press and parliament, set a troubling precedent for potential investors planning to invest in Trinidad and Tobago. He continued, having served 3 times as a member of parliament in my own country, I understand the vital role that constructive opposition plays in a healthy democracy. However, in my respectful view, the behavior exhibited by the opposition in this instance risks causing significant economic and reputational damage to Trinidad and Tobago. Such actions will likely deter potential investors, leading to missed opportunities for economic growth and job creation, and ultimately disadvantaging the people who would benefit from these investments. From our organization's point of view, these actions by the purported government in waiting raise serious concerns, as they represent an element of risk and potential instability that is incompatible with providing a predictable and secure investment climate. Consequently, these developments have shaken confidence, and our companies have felt compelled to reassess the viability of proceeding with a formal bid for the refinery at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an investor who was prepared to consider putting in a bid in the offer of approximately $700 million to bring that refinery into operation. And the only people in this country who don't want that to happen is a handful of politicians who don't care if you eat the bread the devil need, because they prefer to have the refinery there, talking stupidness about it, than to see it restarted and operated in a different way for the benefit of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. This is sandals all over again. All over again. The same way the people of Trinidad and Tobago are now ruining the loss of that opportunity. I would say tonight that as a result of the behavior of parliamentarians who should be encouraging investment, but of course they went to India too. And the only thing on record for their visit to India is that they fall down on Gandhi's statue foot when they were drunk. And you know, hear it. Well, we should not be dealing with Jindal because Jindal on some charge for some piece of land that the company got that somebody said was corrupt. That was it. But let me ask you a question. Who is saying that? The opposition leader who, when the chairman of Mayaro Corporation was charged for bribery, she left him there to serve his whole term. Remember that? When the one on the tender committee in Sandy Grande was arrested for whatever fraudulent conduct, she left him there. Today, she has appointed a chief whip in the parliament who is on $1 million bail. That's okay. And she tells you that Anand Ramlogan is the best lawyer in this country because he was charged and is charged for criminal conduct. But Jindal is to be chased away. But let me ask you all a question. Since we're not supposed to do any business with the Jindal group of companies, because we were never going to be doing any business with Jindal per se. These are corporate entities. There's a corporate veil And of course, if we follow her advice, as I said before, Boeing was charged for criminal conduct a few weeks ago and pled guilty. Didn't even allow them to be tried. They pled guilty. We have a number of planes in CAL that are Boeing planes. And we have on order more planes from Boeing. So therefore, according to Kamala Prasad Bissessa, we're supposed to cancel and stop that. But more importantly, as a result of the matter with the unfortunate incident with the divers, the DPP has now instructed the police to use the evidence of the Commission of Inquiry to see whether any person or any company, including Paria, could be charged for criminal conduct, including manslaughter. Mrs. Prasad Bissessa saying that we must now close down Paria because nobody should be doing business with Paria because the DPP say that there's possible criminal conduct there to be looked at. And if in fact a charge is laid against Paria as a company or an individual in Paria is charged, we have to stop doing business with Paria. So we'll go and put gas in the car quicker. Because Paria will not be able to import any fuel because they would have been charged. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the kind of nonsense that is offered to us as an alternative to the PNM. But all of it has to do with a politics of failure, which is what they require on our part for them to succeed. The same way Duke could have told Sandals owners, and Sandals a family business, just like Jindal, a family business. And when you behave like that, they don't need us, we need them. So when they started implying that the Sandals family was involved with some underhandedness with the Prime Minister and Rowley this and Rowley that and Butch Stewart this, all Butch Stewart, the Stewart family said, we don't need that. And they walk away to St. Vincent and have Ralph Gonzalez laughing at me. So it is. Not in St. Vincent. Curacao got one too. I was talking to the Prime Minister of Curacao last week. Curacao has now joined CARICOM as of a week ago, a few days ago. Curacao is now the newest member of CARICOM. And you know what you're telling me about? The new Prime Minister talking to me. Talking about Sandals and the role Sandals play in the economy in Curacao. But Tobago couldn't have a Sandals because to have had it is for the PNM to have got a benefit politically that somebody thought. But why is that surprising to any of you? When the PNM set about to build the Claude Noel Highway that you all drive on in from the airport to Scarborough, that road, when the PNM set about to build that road in Tobago, our political opponents were furious and mobilized their supporters and encouraged them to go and lie down in front of the bulldozers to prevent it. And they stopped the project. Mutilal Munan was the contractor, and they encouraged people not to cooperate with the government's relocation in Smithfield. Munlal had the contract, and Munlal said, I want to start in Smithfield. But the government couldn't deliver the Smithfield site because the population was being kept there by the opposition. They said, Munlal, well, start in Bacalet or start. No, I want to start in Smithfield. We couldn't give him Smithfield. He said, well, pay me off. Munlal was paid off, and a new contractor had to be hired. And I distinctly recall the pain of that because the new contractor cost $44 million at that time. That is how the Claude Noel Highway was built. So why are you all, that is the history. But you will never see that in a newspaper in this country. You will see some nameless, faceless idiot opposing the latest project to build a hotel at Rocky Point. Rocky Point, which was approved as a hotel site since under the IDC. After the IDC, it was TIDCO, then ETEC. And just as The water projects you heard about now didn't happen because the right people didn't make it happen. On that site, which passed through all those entities, a project is lined up for there today because this government has pushed that project and is encouraging local investment to invest in hotel rooms in Tobago because we need hotel rooms to build the economy of Tobago. But in that scenario, you still have people who are prepared to put their personal position, some of it quite incompetent, irrelevant, and immaterial to the country's development. Push that forward. That will get 2 pages in the newspaper trying to make a case against the project without offering a single alternative as to where the next Tobagonian will get a job as a manager or as a service provider of any kind. But they have a problem with the PNM because the PNM represents the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We are no ordinary party. Let me just touch on one other thing. We met at CARICOM.
Right, so that was the Prime Minister there speaking yesterday at the Martin West constituency. They had their constituency AGM, well, not AGM, but the meeting where they would have installed their new executive and so on. I think the process is going on for all 41 constituencies, and the Prime Minister being the Member of Parliament for the Martin West. But, well, he has been the feature speaker at a couple of these events, so he would have read for you from the letter sent to him by Mr. Jindal, expressing, well, gratitude for the opportunity to put in a bid, but also indicating that he would have to decline on the basis of the negative feedback or the negative position of the opposition. And I saw today when I was going through Facebook this morning, and I'm seeing the various headlines from the different newspapers and news houses reporting this development. And I read the comments from the fully duns. They're lying. Which businessman will pull out from a lucrative deal where he could make profit just because the opposition saying something? I lie. Okay. It's only a matter of time before they ask to see the letter. Because you all remember back in 2020 when they were calling for international observers to come to observe the election. And Dr. Rowley wrote to the Secretary General of the Commonwealth requesting observers, and he got a response from the Secretary General indicating that unfortunately they are unable to meet the request because the fact that borders are closed around the world there and commercial flights are grounded, and therefore in order to facilitate that request they would need to charter a private plane, which would cost them money and all of these different things to put up the people and so on and whatnot and things, right? And they wanted to see the letter, and Dr. Rowley would have published the letter on social media, the one that he sent and the response and so on, and still that wasn't enough for them. So yeah, you will hear them, the fully done saying, yeah, Rowley will be writing a letter, that is email gate again, and all kind of nonsense. And they don't see, well, we know that they are, well, beside Mr. Jindal, who seem to be the most promising, there are others, I think 9 others who were mentioned, one of which is patriotic. So really and truly is only 8 other bids that we should really be hopeful for. Patriotic, waste that time, right? Waste that blasted time. So we can only hope that something comes out of one of those other 8. But when I listened to this last night, after the Prime Minister said that, I really wasn't motivated to listen to anymore. I just wanted at that time to just cut off because it was disappointing because based on the statements coming out from what the Prime Minister would have said following the meeting with Mr. Jindal and so on, this one looked very, very promising, notwithstanding the shenanigans of the opposition. And the refinery for me could now be likened to the West Indies cricket team. Every time you think, yeah, we are at that turning point, we turn a corner, finally there is light at the end of the tunnel, we're going to see a turnaround, and then somebody pops up just when you think, yeah, and say, hey, Maggie, I fooled you, and here we go again. So we wait to see. I hope this, well, the committee, the cabinet committee that is supposed to be put together to evaluate the bids that supposed to be coming in, and we will see what comes out of that. Prime Minister said by the end of August they'll be able to tell us whether or not the refinery would have a new owner. But the thing that amazes me with the fully done Sunday supporters, I'm reading some of the comments. In fact, I saw one of them pop up there just now talking nonsense about it's only about foreign benefits and nothing about the benefits to the people. The fact that somebody can ask a question like that, to me, speaks volumes, right? It speaks volumes. Because the very same UNC, who always talking about foreign direct investment, and under Rowley, no foreign direct investment, and it's net outflows, and money leaving Trinidad, but no money coming in Trinidad, and they can't see the benefit of that, because the refinery is Trinidad owned. May I ask Colin the question again? Who was responsible for Petrotrin? Who created Petrotrin? Who did that? It's the same PNM that had to purchase the assets of these private foreign oil companies, because prior to Petrotrin, the energy sector in Trinidad and Tobago was controlled by foreign entities. And when they decided to pack up and leave, it was the Eric Williams administration that had the foresight to say, well, we will take this and we will take that and combine it and we will create Petrotrin. They all ever give the PNM credit for that. They could give you a long list, the PNM closed this and closed that and closed that. But where is the list telling us all the things that the PNM created and started? They like to talk about Caroni 1975. Who was responsible for that? Yeah, 1975. Who was responsible for that? Who bought up the private entities like Tate and Lyle and stuff and created Caroni 1975? Who did that? You don't ever talk about that, what the PNM did, what they created. When the PNM shut down the rail and all of that, and shut down the train and all that. But when it is Mr. Manning wanted to create the rapid rail system to improve the transportation system in this country, only buying to the foolishness where they spend $500 million on a feasibility study, and it will cost so much money, and how much money, and all of that, and that money could be better spent to build hospital and build schools. Same people today complaining about the traffic gridlock, when we should have had a rail system from Port of Spain to Grande, from Port of Spain to San Fernando, right? If it wasn't the PNM, thank God the PNM had the foresight to create the water taxi service, so that all those people who use the water taxi on a daily basis, right? Those cars that parked up in San Fernando, when these people drive from their homes to wherever the car park is in the morning, and they board the water taxi, and then they come to Port of Spain, and then in the evening time, they board the water taxi and they go back. Those cars would have been on the road, adding to the traffic problem that is still so severe. But thank goodness, the foresight of the PNM resulted in some of these cars being off the road, to at least provide some level of alleviation of that issue, that problem. And that the people in the morning when they get up early at the crack of dawn to leave home, they don't have to endure hours of traffic. They foot hurting them because take your foot on the brakes, put your foot on the brakes. They could sit down in the comfort of the water taxi and take a little sleep. Get extra 45 minutes or hour or however long it takes to get from San Fernando to the waterfront in Port of Spain. That sleep that they didn't get because they had to get up early to catch the water taxi, they could get a little snooze, extra snooze in the water taxi in the comfort, thanks to the People's National Movement that did that. But they don't talk about them things. Some of these same wretches who are using the water taxi every day, but bad talking the government, the PNM, they do nothing, and after 9 years, only what all that money spent and nothing to show. All that foolish talk, but nothing to show. And they build nothing and buying this dude. I mean, it's like Trump supporters. They could be likened to Trump supporters. All over this country, you see an infrastructural development over the last 9 years. I'm talking nonsense about 9 years. And who built the Curep interchange? It built itself, and like the elves and the shoemaker. We went to bed one night and we woke up the next morning. And, hey, look, the Curep interchange. The elves probably came and built it overnight. Yeah, the PNM didn't do that. No, the PNM didn't do that. The Diego Martin interchange. Same thing. Went to bed one night and we woke up the next morning. Hey, look at interchange, where that come from? The elves built that too. Right? The Caranash police station, the elves built that. There's also the same elves and them not that finishing the highway to Pointe-a-Pierre. Yeah, there's the elves do that too. Right? The Diego Martin health center that looking like a hospital. Elves built that. The Diego Martin sports complex that has a world-class field and all of that. and facilities. When it was open, people went in there and they said, "Oh, this feel." I saw people on Facebook commenting. It felt like one of those stadia in those football stadia in Europe or in the UK. Yeah, the elves built that too. Nah, the PNM didn't build that. We went to bed one night and we woke up the next morning and poof, why? There was the Arima Hospital. Yeah. We have fairy godmothers and fairy godfathers and fairy elves. God elves. That's what it is. The Point Fortin Hospital built itself. The elves built that. The Sangre Grande Hospital, the elves built that too. The highway, first phase from Valencia to Toco, the elves built that. PNM do nothing. Rowley sit down on his hands for the last 9 years and collecting pay under false pretense. That's what you do. And the three ferries, the brand new ferries, yes, we woke up one morning and just found these ferries in the Port of Scarborough and the Port of Spain. Where that come from? Hey, yeah, the PNM didn't do that. Rowley didn't do nothing, right? Same thing. We went to bed one night and the Magnificent 6, well, the Magnificent 7 wasn't anything but magnificent between 2010 to 2015. When we wake up the next morning and driving around the savannah, wow, when that happened, boy? Overnight? Yeah. Somebody just clapped. And these things just happened. President's house that for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days under them was rubble. All they put up was a canopy. Ton of money spent for that. And I saw for 5 years while they were there, they promised Max Richards, don't worry before you leave office. That will be repaired and he will move back in. Max Richards has gone to the great beyond. He ever moved back in? Never happened. Took this administration when they came in to do it. Yeah, but it's not Rowley do that. Rowley didn't do nothing for the last 9 years. He and his cabinet, they just drawing pay under false pretense. That's what they do every month. They do and check their bank account. I get paid, but I ain't do no work this month. They didn't do that. PNM did nothing. Absolutely nothing. Right? All the houses that we see and built, all the housing projects that the People's Partnership left abandoned. Napoyo Court, I always love to reference that. Not too far from me there, right by Larry Gomes there. Yes. When they left office in 2015, all that was left was the shell. The pipers and them, the defense, everything. Whatever fixtures that they could take from the units that were 95% complete. Right. And then again, that same night we went to sleep. And when we wake up, what we saw, all the units that were left abandoned by the People's Partnership were completed. And we had additional units as well. Rowley ain't do nothing. No. Rowley ain't do nothing. And the PNM ain't do nothing for the last 9 years. Nothing they did. These things, you know that movie, the movie 10 Commandments? When the plagues and Moses went to Ramses, and Moses told them, you know, his God, these plagues being brought by his God. And Ramses says to him, these things are not of your God. These things are ordered by themselves. You remember that scene? Yes. All of these things are ordered by themselves. The government did nothing. All of that. Yeah. The Roxborough Hospital, yeah, that built itself. It built itself too. The government campus that Mr. Manning left, only thing it needed to be was outfitted in 2010. For 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, absolutely nothing happened, right? And then we woke up one morning after Keith Rowley became Prime Minister, and all of the government campus was just outfitted and finished, ready for occupation. These things were ordered by themselves. The government had nothing to do with it. Nothing. PNM do nothing. We know where the money gone. Where all the money gone? Where the money gone? They only thief now. They only raid in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, and they do nothing. They have nothing to show. Right. The 66 courtrooms that now have occupied what is called the Waterfront Judicial Center. Yeah, those things were ordered by themselves. Or the elves built it. The walkover just outside there, ordered by itself too. That built itself. Government didn't do that. Keith Rowley ain't doing nothing. This government has done nothing for the last 9 years. They have nothing to show. And, okay. Yeah, according to them, nothing. But every time this government tries to do something, and you know, this dotish talk about the refinery is local and we need to keep the refinery need to stay local and whatnot. And again, I point out the Guyanese government, where they have all the oil, more oil than Trinidad and Tobago ever had and ever will have. Right? All the oil, 675,000 barrels a day. At our best, we were about 300,000, if so much. But they decide they want to build a refinery for 30,000 barrels with a throughput of 30,000 barrels per day. Petrotrin is 180 tops and was reduced to 120 under them, under the PP. According to Khaled Hassan Ali, who was then president of Petrotrin, they reduced throughput from 180,000 barrels to 120 in an attempt, his words, in an attempt to prevent the company from going out of business. Those were the words of Khaled Hassan Ali, UNC appointed president of Petrotrin in 2014, in an interview that he did with the Oil and Gas Journal, explaining to them, we reduce throughput because we can't import, if we imported 160,000 barrels of oil per day, it's affecting our bottom line. And while it is the other part of the company might be making a little something, the refinery is dragging down the profitability of the company, right? Exploration and production. So we find in whatever oil we selling from what we getting from the mature fields, we're making some money from there, but the refinery is killing that. Because the margins, what we're making for each barrel of oil that we import, when we turn that barrel of oil into refined products and we sell it, we're operating at a loss. So what we're getting from the refined products is less than what we pay for the barrel of oil. But because we have to supply the domestic market, we have to provide fuel for the gas stations in Trinidad and Tobago, and we also have a commitment for our regional brothers and sisters who buy refined products from us. So like in Dominica, where the largest gas station owners is NP. So if you've ever been to Dominica and you drive around, like I was surprised, you might see a number of NP gas stations in Dominica, right? But they were selling to other Caribbean countries as well. So we need to continue to operate, even if we lose in money. We need to continue because we have to provide fuel for the domestic market. People can't go to the gas station and have no gas. It has no fuel. And they come to continue to tell you nonsense about Petrotrin was a foreign exchange earner. You refine the oil. In order to earn foreign exchange, you have to sell the fuel, right? Now, you're not going to make any foreign exchange if you're selling the fuel in Trinidad alone, because the gas station's not paying NP Petrotrin in US dollars. They're paying in TT dollars. So we were earning the foreign exchange by selling the refined products from Petrotrin to the other Caribbean countries, like Dominica, probably Barbados, whoever else we were selling it to, right? They pay us in US dollars for the fuel we supply them. When we get this foreign exchange now, we have to take it and go and buy oil, at least 100,000 barrels of oil per day. So it come in one hand and it going out to the next. Yeah, we receive the foreign exchange, the US dollars or whatever dollars, the EC dollars from these countries, right? We must now take this money and we have to hand it over to the oil companies because we need to buy oil to provide feedstock for the refinery so we could continue to produce refined fuels. Foreign exchange come in, foreign exchange go out. Foreign exchange comes in, foreign exchange goes out. But for some reason, the fully dunce can't grasp that. They cannot grasp that. And then they have this dotish mindset that because whatever oil we produce, and so if they say 56,000 barrels of oil is what we're producing a day now, here their calculation. Well, it's $80 a barrel by 56,000. So when you multiply 56,000 by $80, that is how much money the government gets. That is their thought process. Eh? I encountered one of them the other day. I was like, Lord Father Pata. To which I had to explain to here what. First of all, is that 56,000 barrels that you mentioned there? The majority of that belongs to the private oil companies, like the BP and EOG and Touchstone and all of them, right? For when they find oil, they sell it, they pay the government taxes and royalties from the proceeds that they receive. So this calculation you're doing 56,000 by 80 is rubbish. And even when Petrotrin was in operation and they were selling the oil that they were getting from their fields, whether it be the lease operators like AV Drilling and so on, and whatever else was under their control, they were paying taxes and royalties to the state. So this calculation that you want to do is how much barrels Petrotrin producing by the price of oil. No, taxes and royalties. The higher the price of oil is, the more taxes and royalties. You lower the price of oil, lower the price of gas, less taxes, less royalties. The energy companies, by law, are required to pay their taxes and royalties in US dollars, right? At least 75% of their taxes and royalties must be paid in US dollars. These US dollars, when paid to the government, will go to the central bank, and then the central bank will add it to the country's foreign reserves. They are allowed to pay up to 25% of their taxes and royalties in TT dollars because we understand they need TT dollars to pay salaries and other overhead expenses to run their business. When they have to pay the local contractors, when they have to buy stuff from the different businesses for the operation of their business, they will pay these things in TT dollars, so they need TT dollars, right? So they will sell some US to the bank because they need to get TT dollars. And the banks will get the US dollars to be able to sell to Joe Public. But if it is that these energy companies, the amount of taxes and royalties that they have to pay is reduced because they're not producing as much as they were producing before, and therefore the amount of US that they're selling to the commercial banks is reduced, then obviously the amount of US that the commercial banks have to sell to the public is reduced. And like, you don't get that. Now, there was an article that Mala Dukaran that was published yesterday from Mala Dukaran, but I don't have the time to deal with it today. But I will address that during the course of the week because we had to deal with that. There's some things in there that need to be discussed. But to the question on one of the most echoed comments that I've seen today from the Fully Duns, which businessman will just decide that he's going to walk away from a deal where he can make profits because of what the opposition says? So the opposition in the country, let me remind them. Newsday article dated Sunday, the 28th of October, 2018. No deal, no secret. TNT is one of the most political countries he has ever encountered, Sandals Chairman Gordon Butch Stewart said, or declared yesterday, as he reiterated that the only document which exists with government is a little memorandum of understanding and not a signed contract for the Tobago Sandals project. Up until now, we have a little MOU. I hear some talk that we have a secret deal. We can't have a secret deal because you don't have a deal. We have an understanding. The paperwork is being done. We will spec the hotel and we will tell them what we will like. We are working on a management agreement. Stewart was addressing a media conference with TT media personnel at the Sandals Barbados Resort, Barbados yesterday. And with questions continuing to swirl around a secret deal, Stewart told reporters not to get excited, as there was no contractual agreement to discuss, and even confessed that he did not know what was contained in the MOU, which was signed with the government. I don't know what is in the MOU. Sandals Resort International, Sandals, they have dealt with it, an MOU that I have not even read. But it basically says that both the government and Sandals are going to work together to develop a contract, an agreement to develop the area. And it is because my son that led that charge. For me, when there is a contract that is signed, if the government does not want to share it, I can't force them, but I can assure you that I am not going to operate in an environment that is not transparent. For me, there is nothing to get excited about because it is just an understanding that we are going to work together towards having a contractual arrangement and to develop 2 hotels that we are going to spec. 2 hotels. We are not going to have anything to do with the builder. That is for the government to do. We are going to run the hotel like the other hotels in Trinidad. You know, like the Hyatt and the Hilton and the Magdalena. There is nothing saying that Sandals has to develop in Trinidad and Tobago. There is nothing that says I am tied to, or for the company that I represent that says we must do that. We have given our word that we are going to work with the government, develop a contractual arrangement under our direction. He said there seemed to be a number of expectations regarding the project, saying that they were not there to solve all of TNT's problems, as this was the job of the elected government. I am not going to give you over expectations. We are going to be a great investor developer. We are not the government, and we are not there to solve all of Trinidad's solution problems. Stewart, however, noted that not one single dollar had been given to him by the government, although they had spent money on several projects, designs for the projects. Not one single dollar has passed between Sandals and the government of Trinidad and Tobago. They owe me money. We have a lot of designs, but we have not presented anything. Press further, he said Sandals had not presented any bills regarding the project as yet to the government. He said the Trinidad and Tobago political system had the potential to drive away investors as either of the two political parties were always against each other. I like to stay away from the politics because the politics is not going to train the people who will work for Sandals. The politics is not going to provide the vegetables to feed the people. And the politics is one team against the other. I don't want to get involved in the politics. It is something that could cause us to leave somewhere if it is mixed up in the politics. That's going with Stuart. The same thing. So when I hear them talking nonsense about our businessman, I just walk away from it. But Stuart did it. You know why? Because he understood. If Trinidad don't want it and they have a problem with it, not a problem. There are other countries in the Caribbean who will be happy to receive us without this set of bacchanal and politics, and we will make the same or even more money in these other countries without the headache. What did he do? He went to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Tobago and want it? Well, all right. All they want to fight and cuss and make all kind of allegations and tarnish my company's name. A prominent newspaper, daily newspaper in Trinidad and Tobago want to publish a front page story because they can't defend the lies. Publish a front page story from 2016 about some incident that happened in Sandals in the Bahamas where a woman was molested by a butler, and you all bring that up 2 years later. So for the last 2 years, it wasn't that you didn't think it to be a front page story, but you're looking for dirt on Sandals to publish because you come with your lies. And my son held a press conference and exposed the lies, and because you were not able to defend your position, you decide to go on the attack, go and dig up for some story at 2 years old and publish front page, and then expect me to come and maintain. And this project in Trinidad and Tobago, you have to be mad. If this is the length and the depth to which a newspaper in Trinidad and Tobago will go to assist those who are against this project, and they have no good reason to be against the project, just because they figured that the PNM, which is the ruling party, and Keith Rowley, who spoke to Sandals and brought them here, that could be a fillip for the PNM when the election come around. We're not having that. So he picked up himself and he gone to St. Vincent. Ralph Gonsalves is on his what term? Fourth term as Prime Minister. How long he there now? 20 years? Or thereabouts or close to? The Prime Minister of Dominica, how long has he been there? 20 years or so? This year, I think. But Keith Rowley there 9 years. 9 years. You have a problem. So you try to bring Sandals, now we're with it. All kind of allegations. Try to get the refinery sold. They have a problem with that too. And now, and of course, we know the latest with what a surprise. The principals of the UNC have not yet spoken on what has transpired in Venezuela. It's 1 week now since the election took place. Right? They didn't talk about, none of them didn't talk on that yet. The Prime Minister, I think, I read an article today where he says the government will not be taking a position on what's happening in Venezuela. Venezuela need to sort out their business. We're not getting involved in that. Because in the same way, when we have our election, we don't want nobody coming to tell us XYZ. Venezuela need to sort out their business. There are other international entities that are calling on the president of Venezuela to release the official results. The president has said that he's going to call on the Supreme Court to audit the results and so on. Okay. There are those who feel that the Supreme Court is beholden to him. That is Venezuela business. Dr. Rowley has to think about 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. And if at the end of the day, this thing sorts itself out or works out where Maduro is officially declared the president, as was done on 2 previous occasions, right? And then that matter levels off, as was the case some 6 years ago when they wanted to put Juan Guaido as the president. How did that turn out? How did that turn out? Right. Didn't turn out well. The leader of the opposition was supporting Guaido as prime minister, or president. You see now they're quiet? Why do you think they're quiet? They didn't say nothing. And we're still waiting to see. Because they recognize, hey, if this goes the way it went 6 years ago, and Maduro is declared, and what happened for the last 6 years happens again, they're in problems. So what we should do, boy? Should we pursue a case against Maduro? Should we condemn him? Or hush and hope that if we win next year, somehow we could use that to say, well, you know, we supported you at the last election. We apologize for the things that we said before. Can't find it taking long to comment on that, to condemn Maduro. Well, I see the MSJ, they have no such inhibitions. Mr. Abdullah has come out and said that Mr. Maduro won the elections fair and square, and they're supporting Mr. Maduro. You hear the UNC say anything about that? You hear them call out David Abdullah? Of course not. Of course not. They have nothing to say. But coming back quickly to Mr. Jindal, right? Far from it that when these clowns who want to say, well, oh, the dotish talk, but that was just a convenient excuse. At the end of the day, Mr. Jindal has to take into consideration. I have heard and I have read what the opposition forces in Trinidad and Tobago has said. As a member of parliament, on my third term, I understand how this thing works. Because he was a member of the opposition for 2 terms. He has now switched sides and he's now on the government bench. So he understands how the opposition thinks. He understands how the opposition operates. Right? And when it is that you attack and you malign a project, Mr. Jindal has to be concerned that even if we were to win the bid, it's going to take a little time for us to put things in place and whatnot before we could really get that investment started. And if you have, and as he referenced in the letter, the government in waiting, as they call themselves, right? The government in waiting is making these pronouncements. Then do I want to risk investing my company's hundreds of millions of US dollars to acquire an asset, right? To start the process, because it's not just, okay, we win the bid, just go and do this and do that. They would have to come do an assessment, a walkthrough to see what are the issues, what needs to change out, what could they implement to improve the refinery, the infrastructure, and the like. All of these different things. How many people they will need to hire, where they're going to get the oil from, storage, and all these things have to be worked out. And in that time, an election could happen. And if we invest money in the first instance to do things, and then this new government comes in and says, well, here, what now? Well, you make that deal with Rowley. You may make that deal with Kama. So you know what? Hit the road, Jack. This new administration, we do not believe that this arrangement that you had with the BNM administration is right for the country. And we have our own plans for this. So it was nice. But thanks, eh? But boss it. How we get back his money? Now he can probably sue. But then there's another piece of money, and this thing can be tied up in litigation for a long time. Does he really want to go through that? Does he need to go through that? No. Now maybe, if we don't have a buyer for the refinery, after next year's election, the refinery isn't up and running, PNM wins again, Mr. Jindal has a full 5 years, because again, in the letter, he said, at this time, we are not inclined at this time. It doesn't mean we're not interested at all, but you see, at this time, with just a year or so to go for a general election in which you all could lose, we will adopt a wait and see. And if next year, you all win, and we have a full 5 years, that we could come and invest and get the refinery up and running, and so on, such that by the time the next election come around, we are established and refinery working, and they can't do nothing. Okay, but you see, for now, at this time, with what them saying, we gotta sit it out. But thanks, eh? But hopefully, if next year, if it's still available after the election, we'll pay a visit if you all still in power. But they are patriots. And the clownish supporters who complain about the refinery and 10,000 people lost their work, and the fence line communities, and how many businesses suffering, and how many people, if you all really cared about the fence line communities, and if you all cared about the 10,000 people who lost their work according to earlier, and all of that, and the businesses that suffering, and the communities that were negatively impacted, if you all truly cared about that, you wouldn't be supporting this nonsense. You wouldn't be trying to defend this foolishness of what the opposition is doing, when you know their motives are not pure. And even if Kamala want to come and talk nonsense and rubbish about when they come back in power, they will reopen the refinery. You just heard Dr. Rowley say, Mr. Jindal has said, it requires at least $700 million US, at least, to bring the refinery up to scratch and to restart it. Where are they getting that money from? That works out to almost 5 billion TT dollars. What are they going to do? The same thing that you did with the highway? Take $7 billion from the treasury, say you're going and open back the The refinery, where you getting the oil from? Where you getting the oil from? The elves? You're going to call the elves and ask them, yeah, put some oil in the ground there first now, we need it. The $48 million barrels of sweet crude that they came and sit down in a press conference and show us, oh, look at this sweet crude, 48 million barrels. We could almost drink it. Smelling good, eh? 48 million barrels in the first instance. Where at? Where is it? It evaporated into thin air. 48 million barrels, they told us, of Soldado. Where it is? On foolishness. But that's what the supporters like. Take chin up and talking nonsense about this government only want to sell out. Well, let me remind you, what did I say? Page 48 of the UNC's National Economic Transformation Plan. For the fully dons who have never read it, let me elucidate and let me educate you all this morning on what is in the manifesto of the party that you support. And since you're also against the private sector owning these state enterprises, let me tell you what is the UNC's plan. Page 48 of 126. A quoting page, chapter and verse, so you all can go and look at it for yourself. Our approach, following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and determinations will be made on which state enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on to on behalf of the people. Which state enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on behalf of the people. So what they're going to do, they're going to come in and let's see all these state enterprises, which one making money? We want to hold on to that? Nah, get rid of it. 2, they will determine which enterprises, those enterprises which would serve the country better if they were out of government's hands. We're on page 49 now. Let me repeat that. Following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and determinations will be made on which enterprises would serve the country better if they were out of government's hands. 3, which would do better as public-private partnerships. And 4, which will assist with research and policy direction for government in terms of climate change, poverty reduction, volunteerism. Gradually divest selected non-strategic state enterprises. We will gradually reduce the level of state ownership or remove government from several state enterprises which have no strategic national importance or are a financial drain and have no prospect of viability. These functions should be better carried out by the business sector. Transform remaining state enterprises to publicly owned companies, and we will capitalize or recapitalize the remaining state enterprises if necessary, placing up to 49% of their shareholding on the local stock market. This is in the UNC's manifesto. This is in the National Economic Transformation Plan that Kamala Prasad just a couple months ago at one of our Monday night forum meetings told you, go and read it. It's on the internet if you want to know what our plans are for the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. And here it is, she is saying, they are saying, right here, we will gradually reduce the level of state ownership or remove government from several state enterprises which have no strategic national importance or are a financial drain and have no prospect of viability. What does that mean? Remove government. You know what I mean? Sell it. Sell it to who? If nobody in Trinidad wants to buy it, what they will do? And a foreigner comes to buy it, they will say, no. You all remember the Panorama? The MS Panorama that was purchased by the NAR government for $114 million? You all remember that? And when in 2010, the company that bought it came to Mr. Manning and said, we will buy it for $350,000 US. Mr. Manning said, thanks, but no thanks. And as soon as Mr. Manning lost the election in May of 2010, and the People's Partnership came in August, the same people come back and they say, here what? We will take it off your hands for $300,000 US. And they said, sold. They had a tender for that. All you who fully done who talking about how the Prime Minister could meet with a potential bidder and so on. And is that correct? You all weren't correct when you all weren't studied about correct and proper procedure when it comes to procurement and the disposal of state assets. You all weren't concerned when these people came and met with the Prime Minister and the government and said, we will take it off your hands for $300,000. And they said, take it now. We will take that. That was proper, ain't? Yeah, that was proper. Well, they had no concerns then about what was right and wrong. But today, every little thing that this government do, hey, we have a problem with it, that ain't right. That's corruption. Those two clowns on that radio station know about corruption. But when these things were happening under that administration, the same one they advocating to come back, they didn't know about right and wrong then. They didn't know about that. But it is in the money. You feel they will come and read this? All of them who criticizing the government, you feel Roger will read this? No. But for them, ignorance is bliss. So that if the right-thinking citizens, the wrong-thinking citizens of this country put God of the collective thoughts, as Mr. Manning says, play fast and loose with your vote and give it to them next year, and they come back into office and they implement what is here. Don't complain. Roger, don't complain, no, because it was right there in the manifesto. You didn't read it. So don't say you didn't know. The same party that you're advocating for, right? And talking nonsense about thing and the country's patrimony and all of that. It's in black and white and red and blue in the manifesto. Let me read it one more time for the fully done who probably just join in. Following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and determinations will be made on which enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on to on behalf of the people. Which state enterprises would serve the country better if they were out of government's hands. So we reinforcing and we telling all you, we come in to privatize, we come in to sell state assets. Okay? We will gradually reduce the level of state ownership or remove government from several state enterprises which have no strategic national importance or are a financial drain and have no prospect of viability. Who determines which state enterprises have no strategic national importance? How do they determine if it's a financial drain? Because it's not making profit. Sounding like the refinery, ain't? Yeah, but it's okay for the UNC to do it. But if Rowley and the PNM do it, the PNM does always close down everything and sell down, but the UNC telling all you. And lastly, we will transform the remaining state enterprises to publicly owned companies, gradually divest selected non-strategic state enterprises. They will decide, again, which ones they will hold on to and what they will get rid of. So those all you don't know. But the fully done wouldn't talk about that. But when they have a problem with selling the refinery to an Indian businessman, a foreigner. I have a problem with that, right? And you know what they will do? The UNC will do? Well, here, what they will tell the foreigners here what to do. Not just incorporate a local company here and just name the company so-and-so Trinidad Limited, so you could fool the fully dance, the waterfront ilk, you could fool them. So once they see Trinidad Limited, they tell themselves, yes, it's a local company, but don't know it's a foreign company that come here and incorporate a business so that they could buy it to fool the masses. And they will fool them. Well, they're going to take that and clap like some circus seals. And that making sense to them, right? But the PNM mustn't do it. The PNM must not do it. They mustn't get any political points for that. So, yet again, another potential investment has left our shores. Somebody else will benefit. But I was making the point earlier, and I digress, with respect to Guyana, that is building a refinery, right? They have all the oil. They're building a refinery. But the government has made it clear they want no part in it. They will make no investment in it. They want no ownership stake in it. They don't want responsibility for a refinery. So they are inviting requests for proposals from private sector entities, and not just in Guyana, right? In fact, the preferred bidder has been identified from the Dominican Republic, not Guyanese, a foreigner. So when I see comments coming up here about nonsense about only foreign benefits and they don't care about the people and all of that and the country's assets, Guyana is inviting a foreigner to come to Guyana to build a refinery. The government said we'll provide the land and that's it. Nothing else. We're not giving all any money. We want no part in it. You all will spend the money to hire the workers. You all will pay all of the costs involved. We don't want no part of that because you know what? We saw what happened in Trinidad. We saw what happened in Trinidad when the state owns a refinery. Everybody wants a refinery work. And then the government now has to find the money. And when the refinery is not turning a profit because the margin's small, they're looking to get bailout from the state. So the government has to find money that they didn't budget to give to this entity to be able to pay salaries. When it is that Petrotrin didn't want to give a pay raise And Roger and them were threatening to shut down the refinery when the People's Partnership was in office. Like, you forget that. They said we can't give all you no pay raise. But yet still, the parliamentarians were complaining that the Salaries Review Commission wanted to give them a 25% pay raise. Munilal and all of them who said that is not enough. That is an insult. It doesn't recognize that we parliamentarians are full-time MPs. If I lie down in my bed 2 o'clock in the morning, hug up my wife, and it have a fire down the road, I had to get up and go and see about that. So 25% pay raise is not enough, but they were telling Petrochin, you can't get that. The same Munilal would tell Roger and them take 5% and whine to the side. Disrespectful, but put them back. Apparently Roger memory short. You remember when Munilal told them that? Take 5 and whine to the side. They forget that. Yeah, they conveniently forget these things. But they could do it. Just remember I told Ollie what's in their manifesto, page 46 to 49. It is there. Go and read it. It is all there. And that is just one of the anyway. But I said we will interrogate that on another day, not today. But Jacques used to say, not tonight. But it is there. So public servants, talking about Kamala, give me 14%. Well, I know 14% to get if she come back now. You might get a 14% VSEP. That's what you will get. 14% VSEP. Hit the road. Go and see if you can find a work somewhere. We're not keeping this, we're not keeping this, and we're not keeping this. Put them back. You all will eat the bread the devil needs. 7701763. You see, and I still ain't get to touch on the rich. Nothing wrong with the rich getting richer. We'll discuss that on Tuesday morning. Because that's something I need to touch on. Hold one sec there for my Jen. So let me just switch over to this thing. Jenny.
Hi, Dominic. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon to all the callers, potential callers, and those who are listening on Taxes, stubborn things. I just want to touch very quickly also on the African emancipation celebration. And you're correct, but you know what I want to also add to it? There may have been a factor that may have contributed, I don't know. You remember when Dr. Rowley would have said this year is going to be African Emancipation Day? If you could support me with that they felt that Dave Diabio, that they weren't consulted.
Yes.
Being the body that treats for that. And I think that may have set the tone for some negativity with the celebrations. I really think, because if this is the organization that deals primarily, when it comes to emancipation celebration, they get money from the government. I think this year they got 4 million. I'm not too sure if that is the amount. And they are the ones who are doing this. And then the Prime Minister just said that, you know what, African emancipation is this year. And they had a pushback and resistance from that. That might have sent a wrong signal to even the business community and corporate. Because you know how we are people like to go on small talk and petty talk. So I think that may have contributed. And you know, I watched an amazement with all that. I expected that they didn't show up. But they was there walking in the road, but I guess probably they had to be there because if I get subvention from the government, you have to show and put on something and you have to be there. So again, we continue, some of us, to be our worst enemies. And again, to me, my opinion, it comes from pettiness, it comes from jealousy, and it comes from this issue some of us have with self-confidence, wanting to our egos are so big that anybody else who we think is going higher or above us, or who we think is more educated, quote unquote, than us, we have challenges and problems with. This thing with Mr. Jindial and what has happened, the sad thing about it is this. If Roger and Kamala and them could have run this refinery, or that they could have run the country, making good legislation and things in the interest of the country, I don't have a problem. But they are failing at everything. Kamla Prasad Bissessa, especially under her in 2010 to 15. The UNC has never built, even under Mr. Pandey, God rest his soul, the biggest development was the Piaco Airport. And we saw how that went. It ended up in corruption, the biggest massive corruption scandal in this country. We saw one of the own was the Attorney General at the time, Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, KC, or SC, who would have brought a forensic auditor from Canada above linguists to investigate that. The UNC has done nothing. The 5 years under Pandey, they closed almost everything. All the youth camps were closed. Nothing was built. In fact, what happened when they closed down the youth camps, well, usually the population of African persons, he went and built over the Carney Bridge a trade school, and only Indians were there. The only thing it had was that was of African descent was the 4 cleaners. I didn't say that. I heard Mr. Barry Garcia would have spoken about that. So if they need to fact check, they need to fact check with him. And I said when Mr. Manning went, when the PNM came back in office, he heard about it. And when he went, he was so moved by what he saw. That is the brainchild of UTT. So I'm saying again, the UNC has never built anything in this country. They've never developed any infrastructure. They have not done anything. And I will always keep referring to what Dr. Vishnu Bishram said, because I haven't heard them challenge him. He's Indian, of Indian descent. He's from Guyana. He's educated. He's even in this country. Sometimes I think he does do polling and that kind of thing. I think he's a political scientist also. He would have said that the failure of the Indians in leadership in the Caribbean is due to the fact that when they get into political leadership, it is not about making good legislation. We saw that with the USC, they made Section 34. It is not about building the country. It's about corruption and kickbacks in contract. We saw that with the Piaco Airport. We saw that with the tendering and the stuff with Peter with wastewater project. We saw that when she went and saved by she friends and then what came out of that. We saw who was building she house on Philippines, so she started building dress. So we have evidence of what this Dr. Bishram would have been saying. It's all about cocktail parties, kickbacks in contract, about high class travel. We see it. Take for 20 million a week, 20 million of TNT taxpayers' money, charter a whole plane and went to India to visit her family in Bihar. She has never been back. She didn't come back and report to the country. She didn't say what links they made. She didn't say what investment was made. So we see it in living color. So I'm saying again, if they were talking Roger, this parasite who continue to hold on and suck OWTU members' money because he's a retiree. He got the money from Petrotrain. He is retired. He has no bargaining unit, but he still sits as the President General getting members' money. So a parasite sucking the place. They couldn't even come up with money. But with the patriotic. Why you didn't all the money that you all have gotten? I'm just asking. From Petrotrain when you all retired, not retired, well, retrenched and got a visa. Put that money together with other things and come up with the money as a business plan to your members who will know, well, when it's running up and running, they'll get shares in it and all that. No, that couldn't even happen. They wanted the government, I understand, to buy it and run it. No, buy it, fix it, then go run it, and they will start a payback. That's a business plan. So again, there are failures. Kamla Prasad Bissessa and UNC are failures. This crop of them especially are failures. Oh, Roger is a failure. They said that is the reason why Aaron McLeod have put him as the President General of OWT. It is said, it is alleged, that because he knew when he became Minister of Labor, that Roger will be a little paperweight, won't get no problems, won't get no trouble, a real imps. So again, I'm saying if they were challenging all these things because they had a better plan for this country, I would say, okay, let's see what they have. But they have nothing. So you know they're doing it out of spite. They're doing it out of wickedness. They're doing it out of evilness. They're doing it out of the fact that there's an African man running this country and he's black. He like color and have no Sophie hair. And that is the hate they're projecting. And it's so ironic that they have persons who look like us doing it, but then again, I'm doing some reading. And this gave me a kind of inkling why these things may happen. Somebody had told that when the enslaved Africans came to the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, what do they make sure on the plantations, they put different tribes. So no one group or ethnic group in terms of enslaved Africans was speaking the same language. So you had a confusion there because everybody pulled to the corner. And then what they did from that social class structure they would have created there, then coming out of that, you had the drivers, the ones who practiced the whip. They felt that they closed the massa, and then you had those who working in massa homes and see more massa train and cooking massa food. So they started to pull themselves away from the field slave. And sometimes it may have come out of just trying to survive. You tell yourself if you suck up the massa, you will be better off than those in the field. So you went and carry news. And that's how I see Roger and those who behave the way they behave when they towards Dr. Rowley. I see them as those who the house Negroes who massa sick, we sick. And massa, are you going to sell us today? That kind of thing, because they need to always stay close to massa and speak bad about really things about it, because they tell themselves that makes them in massa the favorite one. And they don't understand massa is just using them as a tool to get into office and will discard them the same. Finally, as I go, it was said that Rudan Munilal, and that could be fact-checked again with Mr. Gadefi, he said about Julie John. She was doing something with her. And he said, if I call, she not to go and clean the toilets. She's going to leave it and go. So that's just reinforcing my point. That it could be whoever is in the UNC, whoever big you feel is African person, they just look at you as a field slave. Thank you, Dominic. Have a blessed week, everybody.
Thank you, Jen. Here. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi.
Are you my darling?
I am good.
You know amazing about the UNC? What charge fraudly on? What Alan Ram gets back of 2 state boards? Is this fraud a crime? When you rob state board, you rob the nation. You rob every UNC follow and supporter. But common in that gang, in common. I hope that as of India sue them in the trillions of US dollars. You so hateful that all your nation prosper. To go bankrupt, who will suffer? The same people who vote for you will suffer. But I declare done over paying people. Leviticus chapter 26 says this. I'll give you rain in due season, and the land shall increase, and the trees of the field their fruit. And your threshing time shall reach to the vintage, and the vintage to the harvest, and sowing time, and you shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your home safely and land safely. I'll give you peace in the land. You shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. And you shall chase your enemies, and they shall come before you. That's for paying people only. Let's specify. Mr. Rowley, he was young. I worry. You, Jenny, and all who love this land. I bless my PNM family from the length of the Atlantic Bago. I bless your young one. I bless your garden. I bless your livestock. Not in the Bible, there was this 2 lepers, right? Who told a king something. The king sent them. Right? And they said, I will not keep this news to myself. But went to the other end, and they got rich. When you curse your land, they come to bite you. So UNC feel when they curse you and they own yard, it's in your yard. It's so brutish and evil. You will have what you say about your party. And I declare that PNM will have the goodness we say about our party. There was Goshen, and PNM will be the Goshen. Every plague and light and curse and hate will stay in Egypt, UNT camp. What can the best portfolio then? When there were flies, Goshen had none. Deathbed, Goshen none. Hail, Goshen none. When he first born, a first household and slave animals died, Goshen didn't have any. And I said today, people, be the Goshen. You have no place. I speak well over you. I don't understand how you could hate your land so much that you ran a billionaire from your nation. Because the Ganges and the Nile came together. It's pure envy. Unless you want people to understand that, they like what they get. I'm going to have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See who we have here. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Rogan, and how are you another blessed, rainy Sunday afternoon?
I am good, man.
Right, so I tell you, right, Dominic, I was in the captain mind back in the days of people like Ken Valley. You remember the Northern Savannah?
Mm-hmm.
It's now the Tigomatin multi-purpose complex. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It started then. They never wanted anything that was good for us. They never. However, we started wrong and we built that. They run the badge from Labra. You remember that, Dominic?
Mm-hmm.
They run the badge. Where is the smelter plant? And they run it?
Yep.
That is Sandals. And they run it?
Mm-hmm.
So they do not want anything. Look at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. They wrote Sachin Tendulkar and asked him not to come. Why do we want bad for our country? Why? You tell me, why do we want bad for our country? You know why the UNC could have given 100 houses every week? Because the TLM built it.
Mm-hmm.
So the TLM gave out 100 houses every week now, Dominic. Did the UNC build any houses? These people, we have to get real. These people want nothing, absolutely nothing that is good for Trinidad. You get them not doing so much of money to start up a refinery, and they tell you what they're going to do, they tell you what the plans are, how they're going to structure it, how the money going to go, and guess what? We run them again. We run them again, Dominic. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? We have really best public utilities minister we will ever see in life. We have it now. Dominic, you know how hospitals get for water, right? How it used to be for water, right?
Yep.
Now you can get water every 3 days. Now you can get water. They're going to shut down the plant for 3 days. They tell you months in advance. Look at what we're going to do. They're going to shut down. They can finish work for 3-4 days. You know we have a problem with that, Dominic. But why? This is my question. Dominic, as usual, great show. I'm always on phone. I don't get a chance to call him, but the other thing that I had to get to. So call until I get it. All right?
Thank you.
Take care, my brother.
You too. Eric. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think hold on there, I didn't hear you. My bad. Let me say good afternoon to all the callers, the listeners of another segment of Facts Are Stubborn Things. First of all, let me congratulate the Caribbean athletes for successfully attaining gold medal in yesterday's track and field events.
Yes.
St. Lucia, Dominica, and Jamaica. And I know today that our boy, Jerry Richard, is set to run. I think it probably it might be started already, I don't know. Right? And we wish him best of luck.
Yes.
Right? But Dominic, it really had me disappointed to see that a bid of this caliber that we would have benefited from as a country, that has been sidelined because of the unpatriotic, nefarious criminals, also known as the UNC, headed by this paria bats. Who don't like that? I could bite it. That is her name from now. This paria bats. Right? Because she's not worthy of honorable or leadership. Right? Only want to chastise and only want to malign the Mr. Jindal's character and name, right? And they say, oh, what the PNM would have done over the last 9 years when it was there, and they kept the show. But Dominic, I have a list here. Let me remind some of your callers and followers and viewers that what the PNM would have achieved from since 2015 to 2024. Right? And I read the achievements under the PNM administration led by Dr. Rowley, who also managed the COVID-19 pandemic and paid out millions of dollars in back pay 2016, 2019, and 2023. The achievements from 2015 to 2024 as follows. Number one, personal allowance raised to $96,000. VAT was dropped to 12.5%. New Ministry of Health building. The San Fernando Waterfront Project. Napa repaired for 20 million. UNC proposal 100 million. President House 89 million. UNC proposed 169 million. Tourist attraction. The Magnificent Seven. Barilara Stadium. Renovation and of the Red House, Carib Interchange, Arriva Hospital, Point-14 Hospital, Tobago Hospital, Sagigani Hospital, Portersville Hospital under construction, 4 boats between Trinidad and Tobago, 1 cargo ship, Tobago new airport, state-of-art cancer machine, community centers all over Trinidad and Tobago, swimming pool, homestead program, $20,000 grant for entrepreneurs, training program for youth in manufacturing sector, transition home for girls 18 to 24, 600 homes built for low-income family at a cost of $175,000. Diego Martin Interchange, Diego Martin Health Center, Diego Martin Sports Complex, Chaguanas Police Station, 24 booster station, 61% of the population increase by, sorry, Dominic, 1 minute. Oh my gosh.
You go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Hold on, let's vanish. That's all right. That's fine. Just some callers and listeners, let's vanish just so like apparently like they tried to book a jingle on my laptop or hold on there. Let's see, my achievements. Oh my God. That's no. Apparently, like they remove my list of them. They remove my list. That's all, man.
Put up the list on the page now.
Alright, I'll look for that list like they remove it. But anyway, that's in front of it. I'll copy this. Right? So that's to show you. So all the naysayers who want to talk a sort of foolishness. I want to say that the government didn't do nothing, and government and we did it for 9 years to show, and what the government do for the poor people in the country. What the list that Kamala Prasad, this is aka this Paria Bat could say that she did something in the last 5 years, 3 months and 14 days other than thief the blasted money in the country and enrich themselves and people who look like them. You understand? This project that they would have scrapped, it dates back to the smelter project in Chatham. Sand the results, the the East Spain Development Corporation, the Rapid Rail System, all these programs that will be beneficial to the people of Trinidad, including their supporters as well. Or they come out and scrap everything, right? Because you know why? It will make the PNM government look good, and they will have nothing to talk about the petrol chain. So they want to use the petrol chain refinery as a political football into the next year general election. So by doing that, they say, right, we achieve success in doing such. You understand? And it's really, really disappointed to see as a nation, as an opposition, that only will reach this level to malign somebody and only don't even know about. Right? I want to ask this a Paria about a question today. Could she go to India right now? They don't wash her across. You know why? Because you malign one of their Indian national who in the Parliament of India for your political mileage in Trinidad and Tobago. So could you go across there and have any talks with any Indian business or conglomerate in India? No, you cannot. Just as I went in Australia, or they went right Australia about the boat that Dr. Rolly went to get for Trinidad and Tobago. Could you go across there and have any talks with Australia? No, you cannot. Only bad about Africa. Could you go to the continent of Africa to have any talks with any African business leaders? No, you cannot. Could you go to Venezuela to talk about Maduro? No, you cannot, because all of them badmouth all these countries around the world. And then all they want to run this country, God forbid, all they are total disgrace to Trinidad and Tobago. And I don't care who vex. The UNC is the worst party in this country, 62nd anniversary this month. It's the worst. I don't care what nobody say. And I think it's high time that people should come out and start to protest and get these people out of parliament because they are no good for this country. No whatsoever. They are no good. And I'm really, really upset with this whole deal because this will have benefit everybody in the country, not now, but in years to come. Just so they did Sanders and Tobago. They don't like this country at all. All they want to govern, all they want to burn the country down and govern the ashes. And I think as we as thinking citizens in this country should put out our foot and say, we had enough with this opposition. But then again, Dominic, the 309,000 people who support them every election, right? Nobody excuse about party and race. That's why they always have the 15 seats in Central and South. I don't complain now about bad roads and bad this and bad that, and they are going to blame the government. Blame your members of parliament, one, and blame your councillors, two. Because they are there to support you all in anything done in other areas. But another quick thing, blame the government for every blinking thing. It's a disgrace, Dominic. I'm really, really upset to see that this whole deal has gone to the drains. Because of why the superior butter she cooks want to have political mileage on the refinery in Pointe-a-Pierre. It's a disgrace. You understand? Good point, Dominic, and listening.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon. Greetings.
Well, I'd rather you tell you about this question about emancipation.
Yes. Yes, correct.
And you socialize you in not too village of them, it's possible and better execution, possible emancipation and this year. And I want to support the population by buying, by buying control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you therefore you make it to be concerned because you have the country. Because we don't have to celebrate, celebration without just other people. Some of them are like you like when you there and so on. And the only thing to say that you know the person and them during something as well. So you can see badly. You don't know, it's just something like that to what is happening and you feel only riots and even by the far right, sympathizing over there. They told me on the killing that taking on the key of using the dance studio. Very much telling that immigrants. But it turned out that the first was a British national. Yeah, it's a British England, but you have the person that's British national. So the one I book now is really backlash against
you're sounding a little muffled, Colin.
Oh, sorry. That's all. I'm asking for it. As I was saying, it appears that the xenophobia extreme is what is happening in London, and the far right is taking an opportunity to cause mayhem, right? And I mean, this is our personal country and it's still working on. We are the people who want to get rid of the look what happened in and it's a good thing that is no longer in the EU, because I didn't part of the EU. What you see in there is direct violation of the Human Rights Act and the European Convention on Human Rights, right?
Yes.
Which is one of the central pillars of the EU and EU membership. Where you must treat people in a humane way. And what was the solution by the government and the conservatives was to transport the seeking asylum to Rwanda, take them to the case, and then they maybe go back to England. But here, we in the best country in the world, benefiting of by $1.2 million from the state. The incredible, Dominic? Incredible.
Very much.
Right? You know, I insist in judgment that I watched there is the judgment concerning when Thomas when it was said by the state that the constituted that the police acted illegally, if not maliciously. And the other part, right? This acted unlawfully. It would mean that the people who authorize the detention of Mr. Thomas, they should face some culpability. But we're not saying about that.
Right.
And it follows that the two senior officers who carried out the operation actually went on board. They should face some sanctions. So I'll be waiting to hear in the Deputy Commissioner as she is now, Mr. Martin, what does the Commissioner have to say, and what the Commissioner of Police have to say in the case of Mr. Birch, who is under operation, even not a member of the executive, but rather a senior. Very interesting. You know, on that issue about the two bridges. If the bridge in Parkfield was being undermined, to me that is a local government matter. So it's telling you that the local government body in that area didn't see that the bridge was being undermined in the joint season or all along. Right? And then in the other one, which is on the burial on the heritage land, the same Meru was the one who, when there was a report about the woman who found was being flooded because of one of her neighbors locked the pathway. He said that we couldn't intervene in that matter because it was a private matter and some of you had locked the water for. He is saying the same thing that Mr. Skinner said. Where is that private land? The government doesn't have any police. So what's the difference? Is it different because he is UNC and Mr. Skinner is PNM? So it's different UNC to say that not getting PNM to say that doesn't make sense to let people be honest and dominant. You know, it's to be true. In the last year, the decade of African people, I will African people to understand that we not like, we are not band together, And we have to coalesce around a movement that will protect our interests economically and morally, right? And if we see who has our best interests in terms of that, let's go on support it. I mean, Minister Cummins told us in the last 10 years, there's been a river. The El Dorado deals with the back on street. Whether you can't go beyond street. They're looking to launch other programs for the youth cohort to move people into independent entrepreneurship. Isn't that what we want to serve the creating generational wealth? Even we are not supporters of the government, of the African diaspora. And if you say that is for us, then we should take advantage of these opportunities. And by taking advantage of these opportunities, we will improve our circumstances, which is what the PLM has always put from 1956 to now. And even more so in the last 9 years of this transition. I just want to say to anybody who has any doubt about who has your best interest at heart, who has the best interest at heart to diversify the economy and create other streams of income, just look to the values. And if you had a drink the juice proudly. It's sweetened with brown sugar. It will belong to us good and it will be good, because that is all we will get from the outside.
Right.
Global diarrhea is literal diarrhea. The program as usual, and take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Dominic.
Yes, sir, greetings.
All right, boys. Yeah. But you know, I take away from everything. I listened to the thing from Dr. Rowe yesterday. Actually, I passed yesterday, but parking was kind of tough, and then I realized for the full, I didn't bother. I really wanted to hear what he had to say. But what I take away from that is, you see, the fact that a businessman and a politician, you know, if you're ponging politician, okay, you can pong politician. But if you see you ponging a politician and you chasing with the politician who, in these circumstances, under these circumstances, the man has company, the man has people who run his company, the man has a board of directors. And if the board of directors could tell the gentleman, well, look, listen, because of this character assassination, not just to him, but they also mentioned that the companies that he owns, that he has people running from him, it isn't looking good. What has been done in Trinidad and Tobago, because what is said on Trinidad and Tobago is on the World Wide Web, and people taking notes. It ain't good. So I pull out of it, and just like Buck Stewart and these fellas, and they will pull out. Because you can't be saying these things about people, and then when you look at yourself, Ms. Kamala Pasati, the same thing you complaining and talking about, but the mind this and the mind that, but you protecting what you say, allegedly saying about the man. And I'm asking Kamala, if God forbid, I call the Patrick Manning, God bless his soul, you become Prime Minister, how you want to deal with these people? And seriously, I can understand why you are being cutting bad deals. Why you give up? You want to deal with people, international companies, and these people at the here, and people organizing for you, and you in some hotel room relaxing and sleeping and playing the A2S. And these people on serious business and need to see her, and you can just come out in a night and tell them, okay, all right, and you're doing all the terms that they ask for, and not realizing it's damaging to Trinidad and Tobago. This is how Kamala Pasati operates. And to tell these people who support Kamala Pasati that only complaining about US and a shortage of US like the Rajas and them and the sycophants under Kamala, they should just chase away opportunities that we will be getting US dollars coming in. And if the gentleman was to buy the refinery, and he has the resources and those things to supply the oil, and he get it running, and he will have his market. Anyhow, couldn't he put up between him, because I deal with the man and their gas women, and they could do what they want with it. You know, like all these petroleum dealers buy things from Paria. You know, you could think, but no, the truth is, it's assassinating the man's character and chase him away. And then You see in the headline of the news that we have no new this and no new that and new that. These things is so disgusting. And I realized what they did is that they use any social media network. But what Dr. Rowley say has serious consequences, and people will understand because they just want to push the narrative of the Dr. Rowley is a black man. And he's a what is call him again? In the degrading term, in the Hindi degrading terms, they just want to use and call him what he's not. But at the end of the day, what I learned from that and what I understand from it and what we know and think, because it started with fellas like Darren Bravo and all that. And the man turned his interest to Trinidad and Tobago and he had a big plan, so he came down to South America and to Trinidad. He asked Dr. Rowley to meet with him. He asked Dr. Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, to meet with him. It's not like Dr. Rowley went and tried to sway him to come to Trinidad to come and see about any refinery and those things. The man was looking for good investment, so he came on a mission because he heard and he heard about things, so he understands that there's a bid out for these things and he come to look at it. And this is what the opposition have done to us. Keeping us in Stone Age. That is what she is doing. And people supporting this lady. And I want to tell the Indian community that businessman, a true Indian, he's not a watered down hybrid Indian that most of them in Trinidad and Tobago are. And the man came, he didn't see Dr. Rowley as what Kamala Prasad and UNC just call him. He didn't see him as a rapist. He didn't see him as a Rottweiler. He didn't see him as all these nasty names, all let us call him the gentleman, the Prime Minister, with his doctorate. A man who could sit down when VP executive and the Vice President and the President of the United States and the head of the CIA and all these agencies sit down with Dr. Rowley, just speak with him. You see the nasty names, all they just look at him and call it. They don't see that in him. You know what they see? They see him as a strong leader. They listen to him. Hence the reason he's able to convince the United States government about the guns that they manufacture ending up in countries like Trinidad and Tobago. So when he sat with these guys and them and he speak to them, they listen to him. It's not like Kamala Prasad, the successor in a 90 in a hotel room dealing with executives. To cut deals on the energy sector, the lifeblood of Trinidad and Tobago. Because I will tell you something. Yes, crime is a problem. We have a serious crime in the problem. But more than having the serious crime in the problem, and we have to understand what is crime we're talking about. Because murders are not crime. And I listened to the National Security Minister that he says his ministry gets around $5 billion to fight crime. It will need more than that. Because the technology to fight crime, the state-of-the-art technology is going to cost more. It will triple the amount of what he's spending the $5 billion. But we have to make do with what we have because we don't have that money, that revenue coming in to get those things to spend on it. And more than the killing, because you always fight about the killing, but we have corruption like that. We have a minister who sits in our parliament who is involved and he has his hand in it, although I can't say that he actually human traffic people, but he's one of the people on the outside who organize with that. They don't want to be there, but they could call shots sitting in our parliament. We have an honorable MP who's sitting right there in our thing with, who tried to use the system that was given to him, not to his family and his friends and everybody, to cheat the system of taxes, right? And when anything they blame it on PNM. And you know in the United States, when you're dealing with taxes, that is a serious capital offense in the United States. They don't play with that. They treat that like thing that you'll try it quick and deal with it. You want to come into the money and the country's money and deal with it. But in Trinidad, we have an opposition leader and a former prime minister will protect that and fight to save that. And then we see a businessman out there, she understand the problems in what is going on in the man country. She don't know, she didn't understand what the case is all about. she making statements that is assassination to a man's character. And we as a citizen have to put up with that because you know why? Because she's the opposition leader. What are we going to do about that? Well, the thing that they were blame wrongly because they were telling no new investment, no new data, we need this and we need that, and the crime. But more important than crime is the economy. Because with the economy, if you have a steady economy, you see the $5 billion I just tell you about it. If you have a strong economy and we make any money, we could increase that to $10 billion in the national security system to get state-of-the-art systems in place to help fight the crime because crime is technology. Then for them using all the I hear Dr. Ray talk about them for bringing gun parts and they know how to do it. So bring some here, bring in Tobago, bring a mount of the gun. That's the little part. Or then you have the big ones, the big guys and them who get in legal certificates to bring in guns. So we're stressing about we don't have US dollars and when you push your credit card because they see item on Amazon and they can't buy it and when the bank go you want to travel, they want to get that. But a man spending millions of US dollars and bringing in guns in this country and can get a proper audit on what he brought and what he sold, but they just go on and disappear. And you know, we have people who back in this man, that the government kidnapping, going to use it to represent this man in court so he could get things because the police didn't do what they were supposed to do, so they think that it. But the fact is that he can't account for what he received. And we have a gun problem and guns in wrong hands of people is killing people. And we're not thinking about that, but we're supporting that and you want the killing by gun to go down and you want crime to go down when we're supporting certain people who have questions to answer to the court and you call in your thing, you don't think them further than him. He cheat on his own taxes, he doing his own taxes, he cheat on his own taxes, but somebody responsible for that. And he is good. So put him back in the parliament and make him chief whip. Put me right under the opposition leader. Something wrong with them, Dominic boys. Dominic, UNC and the opposition in this country now. Because I will tell you, if Kamala Prasad-Bissessar becomes prime minister, you think any right-thinking businessman want to deal with her straight and she pays? You think she could cut any deals? You think she could pressure anybody to get anything done? Like how Dr. Ori pressured BP and Shell. Because Dr. Ori has to go to England and back to the United States. Because for people who don't understand that Shell has majority shares of BP. BP is a British petroleum company, British, but they bought all the shares. So when the chairman down here say, when Dr. Ori asked him for the money up front, and he bring the news to Dr. Ori and say he can't do nothing, and then talk to his bosses. Who is the boss? In England. The fact that we are not paying quick and run down thing because we needed money because bills coming up and we feel that they left. Right? When we reach England now, I talk to them, they first understand, but here we're going and the finals, he has to come from the boss, but you have to go there and you have to fly to Texas, the United States, to go and talk to them fellas and everything. And you know what's talking about that, how great them fellas was going? Not just that they agreed to pay the taxes going forward. You see the taxes that Kamala them did them fellas, we get back. And you hear what? And our bonus is showing to all this couple millions of US dollars. So because we going to be coming in serious to start a drill because we understand there's oil inside it and they think that's all know to play the game. These executives and them know how to play the game and they will use these small countries and them to the benefit. But if you don't have a strong leader to stand up to them, you'll get the raw end of the stick. Just as Ghana getting it, you're getting it good up there. I can't see the different thing is. And BP and not BP mobile one ain't lingo that at all for nothing. They could say what they want. Once mobile one got the deal and they didn't break any international laws or they didn't break no laws from the United States, they could say what they want in Guyana. The money there, the Chinese people sign on the dotted line and they have to honor the original contract. Dominic, look at exactly what is going on with this member of parliament called Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and how she's damaging this country. And the thing is that she's so aggressively going behind to get back into office. She doesn't even know if she lands a job as prime minister again. she had an uphill task because what she have done, she dammed a lot of bridges that she will need to cross when the Patrick Manning again, if she gets back into that office of Prime Minister, which I can't see that happening at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon.
Me again. You know something is me saying this, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you hate your land, you hate yourself. It comes from insecurity. Your parents came on a ship, okay? This is where you were born and bred. What you want to govern, you are chasing potential investors who could put our nation on an upward path to financial gain. How can she come and empower and call those people? You won't take her on because you malign and you bit the hand of your potential table. What is wrong with her? What's wrong with people who support you and see? Is it racism or just evil? You went after the man from India, you about talk Maduro. The same Maduro you shook hands with. The same Kevin Ramnarai was on a table shaking the man's hand and smiling. Did you forget? What happened between 2010 and 2024? Did your brain cell die? People hear me well, eh? For the sake of your children and your grand and your great grand, until kingdom come, before you vote for UNC, investigate all the she has done. Because for the US to bring sanctions against Antigua, that means sanctions are the same people she said she loved will be hurt by it. Kamala Harris is not your own. Will not be a Haiti. Stop your hate. Because the same land you want to govern is the same land you're hurting. Dumb or gone by later.
Thank you. Hello, good day. Hello?
Hey, Dominic.
Yeah, Jen.
I just want to ask people if they know what the assignment is come 2025. Because you talking, Juliet is talking, Mr. Rupert's talking, Sharon talking, Bruce talking, John and John, Darren Marcel, so many others. I want to know if when come 2025, we're going to be distracted to talk about, well, the PNM social media officer ain't working, the PRO ain't telling me nothing, this one ain't doing this, this one doing that. You're getting the information here, you know, so you see the study, you know, the PRO doing and the social media officer doing. I think we gone past that. This is so much years later, now we gone past that. You are getting enough information from the different platforms, the bunking, we talk the thing, callers who calling in on this Felix program on 91.9, on Google program, Darian program, John and John. You're getting enough information. So the conversation shouldn't always be talking of, well, with the social media, also with the PNM. We go on past that, as I said before. I want to fully understand the assignment for 2025. Because this is no joke, you know. If all you feel investors will take kindly to a UNC in office and sit down to do business with them all their life. And you see this thing they're talking about under PNM, we go eat grass and we suffering, is really they're projecting how they know if they come into office, how we in Trinidad go be. Because under the UNC, we come up as Albicester, we go eat grass in Trinidad and Tobago. We go be suffering in Trinidad and Tobago. We go have no money in Trinidad and Tobago because the things we're going through with high food prices is not a Trinidad and Tobago thing. The crime, yes, it is a state is very unacceptable. So I'm not going to compare nobody else, but again, in the rest of the Caribbean, they have their own challenges also. with crime. Just recently, the Prime Minister of Barbados told them to stand up for 5 minutes and pray as a way to help treat with crime. It's real. So if people want to keep saying, oh, crime high in this country and they can't get a hand on crime, the food prices high and we can't work and we there, okay. Go to America and see if the food prices cheaper. Go to America and see if you could get a work in America. Go to America and see the amount of homeless on the street. Go to Canada, go to UK and see how much they're paying for their lives. That is not subsidized. How much they're paying for food. So these things are not Trinidad and Tobago things. Are part of the capitalist system happening right now and the economy and everything, all the wars and this and that. Those are real things. But you know what? In this country, sometimes we're too happy because I see feds selling out. And I'm happy people going and party and enjoy themselves. I don't have a problem with that. I see feds selling out. I see more business open and making millions of dollars in profit in the same country that they're saying we're suffering and nothing happening. I'm seeing investment happening. It wasn't Ansel McCall just recently invested $200 million or something like that into Caribbean to have a new bottling work, and they're expanding all outside the region. You see Angostura selling business to China with the bitters and the rum and all that. So I'm telling you, the investments are coming. But come up as Albisa just like how I seen the behavior in America with the MAGA people and them and Trump and them, it's the same with the behavior here. They can't run this country and let the hurtful part. Cannot Passat Bissessa cannot run Trinidad and Tobago. They don't have no policies for Trinidad and Tobago. She have a crew of people who either before the court, alleging something in the court, involving alleging human trafficking, allegedly in prostitution, alleged in the corporation is corruption, alleged corruption here, alleged corruption, and it's going to go in and that's what they want to come back. We call it like Rowley, and we suffering. Really all the suffering? Really all the suffering? Eh? Why all this so suffering? And I'll say it again. I don't care who it is, tape I say and put it and say racist. I say it again because it's real talk. All who say they're suffering, the camera and all them suffering, why should they run India? Why she run Guyana? Why she run to the United States of America? Why they run to Canada? Why they run to Europe? They're not going anywhere because only Trinidad and Tobago they could behave the way they behave and there are no consequences. They can't go in no other country in this world and behave how they behave in there, but they could do it in Trinidad. And then have some of we fight it on the scene. So I want to let us think carefully, what is the agenda, the assignment for 2025? Are you going to allow UNC and the trolls and them on radio who have no sense at all, either deliberately or unconsciously, and all the others who talking negative things about Trinidad and Tobago in this country, are you going to allow them to get and rent space in all the brains for free and have all the thinking foolishness when they come next year, God say, and not understand what we have against? Because Kamala Prasad says and them, it have no life there. It has nothing positive there. They don't have no future. It's corruption. We have seen them in 2010. So you know what? So Dr. Rowley and the PNM government lay track. Or they're going to let them kind of corrupt booty run through that trap and make things bad for we train, them train, and we future to come. That's what Kamala and them about. Them don't know much more no future. Them living in the present, eat and drink where you want now, vomit, drink, do all what you want now, and nothing for future. This government is saying, hey, this is for future, this is for return and return trade. So I know the assignment 2025. I want always to put it up on Facebook here. I want to put it up on this live here now. What is the assignment of 2025? Let me see if they really understand and believe, or they're going to allow the trolls and them. And with all the what you trolls and them, the same thing they say over and over and over. Rowley wicked, Rowley evil, Rowley black, Rowley wicked, or they evil, or they chopping, or they this, or they say, but that's all they say over and over. They have no policy, they have no idea, they're not bringing a new perspective for we just sort of, just looking, nothing, that can tell us something. But when I want the people who want better for this country, who supporting the people, they come in with ideas. If they don't know something, they ask that question, they get the information, they tell other people. The UNC and the trolls and them have nothing, and are passionate about this because if they could do that, whereas Indian businessman was able to write this letter to Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley explaining to him why he didn't even put in a bed. But here what's going on now. I'm saying with this foolishness of these people, I gone, And that is something that could bring foreign exchange in this country. And the dirty stinking are saying it. I wish he could hear me. Roger and them, they know he inefficient. Them says it's like a dead horse waiting for Viagra. And not even Viagra could help them. I can tell you how far they go. But it's so wicked and stinking in the mind. You know why? Because they can't get to rule over Dr. Rowley as they used to rule over Kamala. And how she doing what she want, what they want, because they get she think to drink, I didn't say so. So now she goes and then talk all that. Get she think to drink and she drunk, they could take advantage of she as a man. And them kind of man is abusive men. That's the kind of men all they want, but they can't be Dr. Rowley, them things they could never like him. So again, the assignment 2025. Put it up, Louis, see, following all they're doing, or if Dominic talking in vain, if I talking in vain, Miss Felix and all the others, and Google and everybody, if we talking in vain. Again, people have a blessed weekend.
Thank you, Ted. 206. Brian, you're my last caller. Proceed.
Hello?
Brian, yes, sir, you're my last caller. Proceed.
Hi, pleasant good afternoon. I'm between you and other television. A little bit of information before trivia, before we go into the crux of the matter. Jereen Richards came second in his heat in a time of 44.31. The American, one of the seeded Americans, Michael Norman, who won his in 44.10. I think Dream has the third fastest time out of the 6 heats.
Oh, okay.
Randy James of Jamaica also won his heat, but in a slow time of 44.77. So Jereen is doing very, very well, but I have some concerns with this Olympics in that 3 of the people we have been watching for years did not take part in their did not start in their heats, and that is Kellyanne Fraser-Price, Sherika Jackson, 2 Jamaicans in the 200, and also this is the shocker. Stephen Gardner did not participate in the 400 meters. So those 3, and then the commentators are sharing a serious concern, and so they will expand on it when they get an opportunity. But our boy was in lead 9, and he had to run like hell, and he did. And congratulations to him. He'll get a better lane in the semifinals. But we have to watch Michael Norman and Quincy Holder, the 2 Americans who have done very, very well, and of course Iran. They, I think, would have run very, very well. But our boy, I think, all around he came 3rd overall, which will result in getting a better lane. I want to say, Eric, thank you very much again. Please continue, do not stop, because we have to be reminded of all of these things that were done to us by the opposition and the things that were done for us by this government. You understand? It is important that we remind the people, as long as you're listening, I have no problem listening to it, because there are many things I would have forgotten. And I'm certain a lot of people would have forgotten as well. You understand? And keep repeating it, because we need the people to be reminded and to know leading up to 2025. As Sister Jenny says, we must never forget the assignment. What is the assignment? To remind the people and ensure that the people know exactly who they're voting for. Dominic, when I heard the Honorable Prime Minister yesterday afternoon, and I heard the report, and I heard he read out this thing about, I was a little surprised, because the UNC have mastered the way of shooing away investors. And the people of Trinidad and Tobago mustn't forget this. As you rightly said, they did it with Sandals. And as she said, when after Sandals left, she said, I am pleased, with a smirk on her face. I will never forget when she said that to the cameras. I am pleased. Thanks for all your Tobagonians. Take that. Nothing for all you. And Dominic, this is for the fence-line, I'm going to repeat this again, This is for the fence-line communities. Maradala, Pointe-a-Pierre, Gasparillo, San Fernando, even Point 14 people who eventually came to work in Pointe-a-Pierre from Point. When they closed down the Trinidad Refinery in Point. This is for you all, Mr. Bella, Claxton Bay, even as far as Cuba. This is for you all. I told you it will cost about $5 billion TT to revamp and rejuvenate and to modernize the refinery. And at the surface, Gentile said it will cost them about 700 million US. But it's just about 5 billion TT. And that was him just looking at the surface. When he would have gotten in there, I am certain there would be an additional 2 billion TT more. Because you have to modernize, you cannot flare gas anymore. As I said before, we have signed up to the Paris Agreement. So you can't flare gas. You have to put it somewhere. And Gentile on the surface saw an investment of 700 million. This is Dr. Rowley read it out. He has investments around the world of over 25 billion US dollars. He's no joke. We need US dollars. Previous callers have indicated the suffering you have when you want to travel, when you want to look for US money for your children who study abroad. All of these things. And Kamala Prasad Bissessa and her cronies do not have your children and your goodwill at heart. So the expense line communities will continue to suffer while the refinery remains closed. And we go past it every day and just watch it. Because it's going to take about 3 years for it to be modernized, revitalized, and brought into the 21st century. Because it's an old, I told you all, we're in the lower end of the 4th quartile. That means we're one of the oldest, most dinosaur refineries in the world. And if there's somebody willing to invest that type of money with those deep pockets, and they are being shooed away, they're not going to damage their international reputation around the world. But people to be questioning them now, because a few miscreants, the recalcitrant minority, have such hatred for their own country that they will rule in the ashes. They don't care. Just to save themselves from going to jail. Just to save themselves and their friends from going to court and pay us what they're supposed to pay us. That is what they will do. They will destroy us so that they can survive. That's what they do, so the life will continue. Who is to come next? Who will come? Trinidad and Tobago, please, although look at it. Look at the kind of investment this man was talking about on the surface. Dr. Rowley has a right to be angry. He has a right to talk about it. And as the gentleman rightly said, at this time, I will not be investing my money because we have an opposition there who worse and more bitter than gold. My company and my reputation and my investments around the world are at stake. I was willing to come and invest in our country because of how I was treated by the Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister. But now, today, sorry, Doc. I taken up my $700 million, like what Sanders boss said, and I run in because all you have a set of people there who prefer to damage our reputation and run us. You understand? And we can't afford that. You understand? So we don't go by the bank, and the bank will come back next 2 weeks because they can only get $100 or $200 US. And I'm crying about how things so bad, and I had no money, and the price of goods going up again because the import bill is now $7 billion for food. Don't complain, because I will be here to remind you all about Gentile and the UNC and what they did to our country. Look at Gonzalez, he could boast and laugh at us and laugh at Dr. Rowley face, and there's nothing he can do about it because he now seeing the benefits of sandals. Curacao seeing the benefit of sandals. But it's dotish with dotish. Or are we to continue to go and say, well, you must see them know what they're going to do when they get it. They have nothing. They have no plan. They have no money. Up to now, I have not heard a word from Roche. Up to now, I have not heard a word. And I'm waiting next week because I know it'll come up in the news. I'm waiting on words to hear what Roche have to say, what Abdullah have to say about Gentile leaving, turning his back, taking away the $700 million US investment. And also to help the census communities and to help those who were employed to get back a level of employment. That is what it's going to do to your children, not us who don't retire, but your children who could now perhaps get a work in the refinery. That is the end and the end of it all. The renovations for the refinery, modernization alone would be about 3,000 to 4,000 people day and night because they would have wanted to get it up and modernize quickly so they could begin to bring in the oil and start to make back the money. But that ain't going to happen anytime soon. Always remember, every time the UNC lick us up, just check 3 and 4 and 5 years down the road for the modernization of that refinery. And while that continues, bush growing, and them laughing and drinking the Grey Goose and punching and having a good time and saying, look what they do to we. It's not to we, it's to all of us, including their supporters, that are going to suffer. Well, they don't believe me. Hold on. Just stay long, Dominic. Gotta go back and watch my Olympics. Have a good day, my friend.
You too, sir. Oh boy, it is 2:17, folks. Eric, I'll give you 5 minutes if you call me back now. Thank you so much. Extra folks, as always, thank you all so much for joining me. As I said, there are a number of issues to discuss, and today I simply did not have the time to discuss all. And while the program is going on and I'm scrolling through social media, I saw an article from Mariano Brown, which I also need to address. A never dull moment, and it just keeps coming. So I deal with he and Mala Dukaran and other things as well. So, Mr. Chance, I will address your issue on Tuesday, God's willing. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. It's supposed to be a rainy one. They said later this evening, it's supposed to be getting some rains into tomorrow. So, keep safe. Eric, make it quick. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Well, I know what they say. You want 5 minutes and
well, I tell you, call me now. You call me, so I say, well, let me proceed.
Hello?
Yeah, I can't tell you, call me now, but I see no call, so I say, well, I will proceed.
All right. Well, I echo the same sentiments from Sister Jenny, right? And I think now is the time to play who is who and what is what. We have to take off our gloves now and start the ball rolling. When you look, next 4 months, the year done. You understand? Next year, January. I Dominic, next year, January is THA election or December next year?
No, it's due in December. But Pali has an additional 90 days, so you can call it in March of 2026.
Oh, yeah, 90
yes,
days.
90 days from the date of the last time. Yeah, from the...
So it will be in March then?
The latest you can call it is in March of 2026.
Wait, that's all. The election for THA due in
December of next year, but he has 90 days from when the first session of the THA, the assembly would have been called. So the latest he could call it is March of 2026. So if he's inclined to be like Mrs. Pasabi Sessa, he will take 4 years, 3 months, and 14 days.
Well, with them, anything is possible, right?
Yes.
But I think that, as Jenny said, the mission is to send out the information and stop the sort of blame game. Right now, before I go down, you know, the UNC again, and I had to take some job on the UNC. Right? Who can recall, well, as what Brian said, that the agenda being pulling out the whole bidding with the investment of the refinery and the Sanders and all these things, right?
Could people recall back in 2010 when the Pointe-a-Pierre would have assumed office, right? And she would have stated, while two CARICOM leaders yesterday pushed for TNT to fulfill their promises made to the region by the last PNF administration, that is Manning, God rest his soul, Prime Minister Kamla Prasad, aka the Pointe-a-Pierre, has made it clear that Trinidad and Tobago is not an ATM card. St. Kitts Prime Minister Denzel Douglas and Grenada Prime Minister Tillman Thomas called for the projects to which the previous PNM administration committed TNT yesterday. Prasad Bisesa, chairmanship of the CARICOM's National Security Committee, produced proposals for the passenger security fee throughout the region to fund its national program. Prasad said TNT could not fund the entire program. Right? So that is have been their mantra from since assuming office going forward. Right? And she also stated, one of my officers said to me that Trinidad and Tobago is seen like an ATM card. You come in with the card and you come back out with cash. It cannot happen anymore. It just cannot happen. Words of the then Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable, not so honorable, I should say, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, aka Pointe-a-Pierre. So by this development with Jindal, it's nothing surprising to me. I'm a bit upset of what would have happened because it would have benefited us in the interim. But as Jenny said, hashtag the mission is on 2025. Let's get the message out to the people far and wide. And going forward, Dominic, you see from next one going forward, all my gloves off. I'm going to start to level some work going forward. Good program, Dominic. Locked on this. Never want to watch my boy run.
Thank you. Yeah, with that, folks, I gone to what I could say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, yes, Carol. And we shall and will prevail. All right? Just don't play fast and loose with all your votes. Talk to all the people in Tobago. Let them know what time it is. All right? Because, yeah, the heat is out there. It's not just the UNC. Right? We have other opposition forces to deal with, and they're still trying to coalesce and come together to form the 2010 again. We need to guard against that. Right? So, you know what to do. Next 12 to 14 months, as the Prime Minister said yesterday during his speech, get ready, right? Gird your loins and get ready. We know what we have to do. Understand the assignment. Okay, just one more. In the same way that if the Democrats do what they're supposed to do in November, it's the last time they will have to deal with Donald Trump because, yeah, I don't think if it is never a problem with Biden at 81, you can't tell me you're willing to vote for Trump at 82 in 4 years' time. All right? So, same thing we have going here. Understand, if you all get it right in, well, Dr. Oli have until September, probably November to call the election. So all who think in August, he have until he could take his 3 months too. So once we get that right, after that, 5 years time, Prasad Bisesa will be almost 80 years. The UNC would have to be, well, anyway, I'm putting nothing past them. She might be in a wheelchair and want to contest the election. That's to tell you. But anyway, yeah, we just need another 5-year term, and with once things go good with all of these different gas deals, we're good to go after that, right? So take that into consideration. Folks, we'll chat again on Tuesday morning, God's willing. I will try to address those 2 articles and the topic that Mr. Chance asked me to address, right? So Tuesday morning, join me.